All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Welcome to Barn Talk. What happens at the barn stays in the barn, but not today. We're going to let it all out for you guys. Today is going to be a real special guest episode. We got a damn good guest in the barn here today. But before we get into it, you guys know the drill. Share the show with the people that you know. If you guys get any value at all, if we made you laugh, if you're related to us on something, if you learned something from this episode, all that we ask is you share it. It's kind of the ticket to admission to watch or listen to the show, and it's the best way we found to grow the podcast. Another thing you can do to support us here at Barn Talk is leave a review on Spotify or Apple. The more that you guys do that, the more it makes our show credible, so we can get some damn good guests like we have today on the show more often. And we also just love hearing from you guys, hearing your feedback, what we can improve, what you like, what you don't like. We can take criticism, whatever you think is constructive enough for us to hear, we'll try our best to implement it.
I do like positive reinforcement better.
You're a words of affirmation type of fella.
Yes, I like affirming. I like affirming comments.
Yeah, you need
I need that.
You got to build yourself up a little bit.
My inner talk's already bad enough, so
yeah. So help us out and help Torque out with his inner dialogue and leave some positive stuff too for us. Last thing you can do to support us here at Barn Talk and our family farm is support our direct-to-consumer meat business, Farmer Grade, farmergrade.com. We got Wagyu, beef, pork, chicken, all on there. We got Father's Day coming up, so gift your dad something special this Father's Day and get him a box of meat, because you know damn well he's going to use that, and he's going to forget about that Ace gift card in his wallet if you give him one of those. So we don't have a Patreon to make this show go. What we got is called a Metreon. Farmer Grade's our Metreon. Instead of getting a bumper sticker, get yourself a box of meat, because you know damn well you're going to use it. So all the support that goes there is directly coming back to make this barn better and to help us grow this show and make things better here. So we appreciate the hell out of all you guys that support us in any way, any of those three ways. It really does mean the world to us. And I'm pumped today for the guests that we have. It's going to be a good one. Yeah, it is going to be a damn good one. I mean, this guy really doesn't need much of an introduction. He pretty much has pioneered farming on social media. He was kind of the first guy to ever pick up the camera and show what's going on his operation, and doing it well. And he has built a massive platform promoting agriculture in a positive light, showing what he does on his operation every day, supporting the farm community in a lot of different ways, not just what he does with his YouTube videos and what he does on social media, but through FFA and through farm rescue and stuff like that. And so I am super excited to get into this one. So without further ado, let's get into it.
60 John Deere with a dump bucket, spring-loaded deal. And I can't remember what we were doing, but we needed a loader. And our neighbor up the road had a Minneapolis Moline that had a loader on it. And I was like my dad's shadow. Of the three boys, I was the one that, just following around and all that. And he just assumed that, oh yeah, you can run this. I got on there. You got this. And I'm like looking, now I can run a 4010 synchro real easy. I get on this Minneapolis Moline, and there's like lever. I was just like, it might as well have been a spaceship. And I just told my dad, I'm like, I don't even think I know how to make this thing go. Anyway, he got up there, and I think he didn't let on, but he didn't quite know what was going on. But I don't remember what model it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was an oldie. So that's my only memory of a Minneapolis Moline. Yeah, he came down, and we did my dad's 4010 that we've had, and then we went in the barn here, and we've got like an unstyled A and a 60 and a Ford, an 8N Ford, we went through the whole deal. And
yep.
I didn't think he was ever going to leave because we just kept talking and talking.
I can see
talking.
that. Yep. I know what you mean.
We ended up eating supper on a Tuesday night at a Mexican restaurant, and the cook staff was standing there just watching us eat, because we were the only ones. We were the only ones there
to wipe the table and flip the chairs.
Come on. Yeah. Anyway.
Underlay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, man.
Well, shit. Zach Johnson, Millennial Farmer, welcome to Barn Talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. This is one we've been wanting to have happen for a long time. I said in the intro, what you've done for agriculture has been amazing, especially impacted me in a positive way. I mean, you were one of the people that inspired me to go down this journey of ever getting on social media. So I just want to say thanks for doing what you do. And, I said also, like, this man really doesn't need much introduction because what you've done is just incredible, man. So we're just grateful to have you on here and appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And it's same to you guys. I mean, you guys do a great job with your show. I don't know how I ever came across it, but it came up in the shop, and it was like I knew who you guys were. I'd seen you on social media, but I'd never listened to a podcast. And it was one of those deals where I was listening to one of my usual shows. Yep. It got to the end, and my hands are dirty, and I'm working on stuff, and your guys' show came up.
And you're like,
I've never listened to them before. I'll just let it roll.
Where's that voice of that 15-year-old girl coming from? Oh, it's coming out of that. Is that a midget? Is that a giant midget? What is that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask him, what keeps you watching? Is it do you think somebody's a midget, or
it's my good looks?
It's your good looks.
That's actually, I owe you probably more than Sawyer, because
do.
When he started on his journey of I'm gonna start documenting my life, he was a meathead and he was into fitness.
Yeah.
And he drugged me into this when he started like a day in the life of choring pigs. And if he wouldn't have done that and he would have stayed on fitness, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here, because I would have had a heart attack, because he would have drugged me to the gym instead of just letting me chore pigs. So
yeah.
Thank you for, helping get him into the right genre so as to not cause me any more pain.
Well, you would have looked like we had a joke on last podcast where, Dad's starting to go to the gym with me now. So he's getting you just had your 54th birthday, and you get your steps in, but you're starting to go to the gym, and instead of calling you the Rock, he's going to be the Boulder.
Yeah.
The boulder? The boulder. The boulder.
Yeah. That's cooler than the Rock anyway.
Yeah. But what other podcasts do you listen to? What's like your go-tos if you had to choose?
I listen to the Drinking Bros a lot.
Okay.
I have for years.
Yeah.
Just listen to those guys a lot. Actually been on their show 3 times. I like those guys.
They're good dudes.
Rogan has a strange guest list to me. Mm-hmm. But the 10 or 15% of his podcasts I listen to, I love.
Yeah, right.
But then there's a lot of guests where it's like, I'll just go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Then I like listening to some of the oddball, like maybe the dorky ones, like Freakonomics.
Yeah.
I like that one. There's been a couple that Serial podcasts have done. Have you heard of Serial Productions with an S?
I haven't heard of them.
It's like a storytelling kind of thing, so it'll go through 5-6 episodes of something they dig into real deep. Those are the ones you got to listen to on the road trip.
Yeah.
Because you can't be getting out of a combine and trying to pay attention. And
yeah.
Actually, oddly enough, I don't listen to many podcasts in the tractors anymore. I don't know if that's because I'm old. I don't know what happened there.
Do you just not listen to anything?
I just leave it off.
Yeah.
There's too much shit.
Peace.
Like my phone's always ringing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somebody's trying to get a hold of me on the radio. I got a YouTube channel. I got to remember to do something with the camera. It's just too much.
Yep.
I don't need the background noise. So I rarely listen to anything in the tractor anymore.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm the same way. That's really one of my only really peaceful times that I can just listen to the voices in my head and make sure that they're all in agreement.
Oh, I don't like listening to those.
Well, they're fine as long as they don't start arguing. That's when things go awry. So you gotta keep them balanced.
Do you when you are filming, do you ever just take a day where you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna enjoy this today.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because man, you can get just fatigued of just like, okay, on to the next field. Here we go. Let's throw the drone up again. And sometimes you're just like, you know what? I want to enjoy this.
Yeah, can I just farm today?
Yeah.
I don't need to talk to the camera. Just let me farm, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Well, I have one other question. Rogan, what do you think about Rogan on his stance on ag? Like, sometimes I feel like, oh, he might get it, but then he has people on there sometimes, and I'm like, gosh, he really don't get it, does he?
So literally on the way here, as I pulled in the driveway, he was playing, and I've got the episode going with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And there's some stuff on there they've gotten to. I don't think I'm halfway through it yet, but I know I've heard from others that there's some stuff on there that they're going to get wrong on agriculture. And there's definitely some stuff where Rogan needs to be, not put in his place, but he needs a little bit more education from guys like us.
He needs a different viewpoint.
Yeah.
He needs some perspective.
Yeah, I'm told he's going to start talking about all the glyphosate that they put on the golf courses. Come on, man. You got the biggest audience in the world, and the golf course goes out of business when they put glyphosate on it, right?
Yep.
I know they make Roundup Ready grass, but it's not on the golf courses yet.
Yep.
Yeah. So just stuff like that, and I've heard him talk 100 times about these gigantic harvester machines that are just grinding up deer and rabbits and all these animals. And
Yep.
You ever put a deer through a combine?
No.
I mean, I've seen pictures of it.
Yep.
Sure, it happens.
Yep.
But I do not want to put a deer through my combine.
No.
If you do, something was wrong with the deer.
Exactly
It
right.
can see you coming.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably needs to be put out of its misery
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly,
because it
yeah.
ain't thinking straight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very unlikely scenario because either you're going to find the deer before you run it through there, or the deer is going to move.
Yeah.
For you to not see it and the deer not to move, something's seriously wrong.
Yeah.
And then you probably got some stuff you got to spend a lot of money on, more than likely.
Exactly.
If you put a deer through a combine,
Yep.
you're fixing a feeder house.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and my only thing that, like, when he's had like regenerative guys on there, like White Oak Pastures, I always talk about how I respect the hell out of Will Harris, because I think he's like gone away from relying on the commodity market and kind of created his own market, and I do respect that. But he always asks the question when he has those kind of guys on: do you think the way that you're doing it, we can do it everywhere else and feed the world? And they never say
They never want to answer
They never want to say concrete yes.
Yeah.
Because I think they know
you can't scale it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
That's the tough part, isn't it?
when it comes about, we talk about sustainability and carrying things on. I mean, that's the most important part, is we gotta keep feeding everybody, and then we could get better in areas, but like that's sustainability, is keep feeding everybody. I mean,
I think that's one of the. I don't know where I was. I was at a meeting somewhere, and a guy was talking, and this was in the hog industry, but he said, sustainability, he goes, do you know what sustainability is? He goes, sustainability is, that is when you have a farm or you have a business and you keep it going. That's sustainability. He said, it's been co-opted. It's been taken hostage. He said, like in our business, raising pigs, we're very sustainable because we're a third generation. We've been raising pigs for 3 generations, and we're still doing it, and we haven't lost our ass yet. So we're sustainable.
Yeah.
But he goes, it's not what people like to take that word and make it into all kinds of things. And like these guys that push these niches, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think in ag, the idea of being able to continue smaller farms, like in our case, a family farm, we're not going to compete with the people that have the desire or have the ability to farm 10,000 acres. I'm not going to run with those people. So if I'm going to make my living off purely grain farming, I'm going to have to find other ways to do that. I'm going to have to find niches, whether it be social media, whether it be a meat business, whether it be me making lemonade and selling alongside the road out there, whatever it is.
That one's not going to work out that well.
Probably not that well, because I'll drink all the lemonade and probably spike it and then get a lawsuit. So Trish won't let me do that. But you know what I mean? But I think those niches, that's not going to feed the world.
As an Iowa corn farmer, you understand that what you do affects your tomorrow. That's why the Iowa Corn Promotion Board is dedicated to investing in your Iowa corn checkoff dollars in the market development, research, and education to drive farmer profitability. Through our market development efforts, we've partnered with organizations like U.S. Grains Council and the U.S. Meat Export Federation. For every dollar invested, we create an impressive return of $6 for Iowa corn farmers. That's right, $1 turns into $6. By investing in research, we're unlocking breakthroughs that enhance corn production, create new uses, and improve sustainability. This means more sustainable crops, new markets, and stronger farm practices. Checkoff funds allocated for education are used to inform both farmers and consumers about Iowa's corn industry. Whether it's hosting a water quality workshop or sharing the benefits of unleaded 88 at the Iowa Corn 350, it all promotes Iowa-grown corn. Together, these investments boost your farm's ROI and help drive demand for corn, putting more dollars back in your pocket. To learn more about the Iowa Corn Checkoff, visit iowacorn.org. Now, let's get back to it. Yeah. And I always use the example, I actually use you as an example. You know, everybody wants to say, oh, all farmers should no-till. All farmers should no-till. Or all pigs should be raised on pasture. Or all beef should be grass-fed. And it's like, you're not taking geographical location into that equation. You're not taking the farm's financials into that equation, how the family works together in that equation, what the equipment looks like in that farm into the equation. Like, they just want to paint it with a broad brush, and that's what grinds my gears more than anything. It's just like, it's not a broad brush. It's not one stroke. This is how it has to be, because everybody farms differently, and the guys that do farm differently, they're probably doing it for a reason. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I mean, every farm is different the same way everybody that is neighbors in town, they all have different jobs. They all do different things. They're good at different things, right?
Yep.
So you even look at the obvious difference, like geography and soil type and climate. But then you get into, like you said, like just the family dynamic, the financials. I mean, what works best for them? What are they good at? What do they not want to do? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so different for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Well, you know, we only really do this on episodes together. We do a whiskey minute every once in a while.
A whiskey minute.
A whiskey minute. But we feel like this is a special episode since you've made the trip.
Gosh, you're really putting him on this.
We're doing a whiskey hour?
We're going to do well, maybe we could do a whiskey hour. We'll just see how good this tastes. But we got this bottle. Somebody gifted this bottle, and you probably know more about it than me because you're kind of better of a whiskey nut.
I bullshit the whiskey snobs better than you do. So this is Garrison Brothers, and it's Bomarea, I think is how you pronounce that. Somebody will tell me if it's wrong. But it's double barreled, so they barreled it, and then they're like, damn it, that's not good enough. So they poured it all out, and they re-barreled it, and then let it go a little longer. And it comes very highly rated, but I'll tell you, the bourbon business is tough, and they've had to add bling, because this bottle came with this tag on it, and then for buying this bottle, you get a medal.
Oh, you get a medal? You did it.
It's a participation trophy for alcoholism, and so I mean they're putting it on for all it's worth.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's gotten really good reviews. So do you want to? You want me to open it?
I'll open it. I'll pour us all up one. You guys just start talking shit about something else.
It's even got the dipped.
I know.
Yeah.
Dipped top, right?
It's like a Makers does that.
They stole it from Makers. They just put a little blue 9 in it or whatever.
It is a pretty cool bottle. I won't lie.
Don't suck on the cork, Sawyer.
I done.
Sawyer has
screwed it up.
His fine motor skills.
Never been good.
Never been good. Took him a long time. I think he was 12 before he could tie his shoes. It's tough. It's tough.
It's all that's why he's got the Velcro boots.
It's all about the teacher.
I got to be careful about how I abuse him, because people in the comments will say, well, it's your son.
Yeah, well, exactly. There's some of your genetics in me. And all the bad shit's probably from you.
Well, I don't know. Your mother's not here to defend herself, so be careful.
Yeah.
When you picked up the camera and you started, did you have any idea of how what the appetite for that was really?
No, I not at all. No.
Yeah.
And I think some people don't believe me when I say it, but in all honesty, when I picked up the camera, it was 100% just a hobby to try to relate to people and say, hey, this is our family farm. I'm going to be fully transparent here. This is what we're doing today. This is what we got going on. You know, these are my kids. This is the family right here. Follow us through what we're doing.
Yep.
And that's all that it was.
Yep.
And when people, you know, I kept it quiet for a long time because I didn't know what the neighbors would think, right? And I just I didn't want it to get out there and be the weird YouTube guy. And when people started catching on to the fact that I had a YouTube channel, some people would come up and say, you know, you can make money on YouTube.
Yes.
And I thought, well, sure, but I'm sure you have to be, you know, you have to have this monster channel and whatever. And so I spent 2 years never thinking about it at all. Never.
Yep.
It was 100% a hobby. And then when it started to blow up on me, I started to look into, okay, all right, maybe I'm getting enough views all of a sudden that I should look into
monetizing.
Yeah, monetizing it. So I remember, and I know I'm the millennial farmer, but I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to computers.
Yep.
And I don't care. I don't want to learn any more than I already know about computers. I'm not interested. So I figured out one day, I spent like 3 hours figuring out how to monetize the channel and sync the accounts and do this and that and whatever. And I did it. And I forgot about it for months. Never thought about it. Well, here it was sitting in a Google account.
Yep, sure.
But I didn't give it any banking information or anything like that. So it was just sitting there, piling up. And I believe months later, I had like $200 in there. And I checked it one day, saw that $200 and was like, I'm fucking rich.
Well, I am very lucky in the fact that when Sawyer started, I mean, I have no clue how half the shit works that we do, but he's more savvy than I am.
That's the key.
Yeah.
I use my wife for that same reason. Here, this is some stuff I can't figure out.
Work on this.
Yeah, work on this.
Yeah.
So it was the wasn't it the dead semis? Was that the video, the first one that really took off? Like when you went to start, I thought I heard you tell the story like you had a video where you went out and you were going to move equipment out and like the batteries were dead or something like that.
So there was one of those. Yes, there was a blizzard coming. I'm pretty sure I know the video you're talking about. There was a blizzard coming. Do we need like a chainsaw to get that bottle?
What did you do?
I literally okay, that's a malfunction on their end.
Yeah.
The bottle's all cool and shit, but when you pull the wax tab to take the damn thing off, it snapped on me.
Okay, well, we're going to lower the score.
Dad, can you help me with this?
We're going to lower the
trying
score.
to help.
Yeah,
I mean, you are my son because neither one of us can get it figured out. So
I know.
Thank you, Contera, for this glorified box cutter that you gave me because it is really handy.
Yeah.
We're getting it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, yeah, so the video was, I started out in the morning. We knew there's a blizzard coming. We got two big shops. One is the heated shop. One is the cold storage shed. I wanted the stuff that I was going to work on in the heated shop. You know, I wanted it in there before the blizzard hit. But of course, it's in the back of the cold storage shed. So I got to take like 30 items out to get to the back, to get this stuff, to get it into the heated shed. So I'm just playing what I call the John Deere shuffle all day. Moving equipment around. And it was one thing after another. You know, this battery's dead, that battery's dead. Trying to get in the battery box in a semi and the stud for the bolt breaks off. So now I got to go get a grinder.
Yeah, that's it.
Now I got to open the shed door and it's literally iced in place and I got to bust up the snow and then it falls off the rails and then I can't get it open any further. It was just one thing after another after another. And yeah, apparently some people like that video.
No, they do. Those are the best. I mean, every really good video that we've ever done on the farm channel has been things going wrong that we didn't know were wrong. In other words, stuff that you just like, we went to shoot loading pigs and we walked in and they got a feeder loose and the gates broke and water's flying and
all hell's breaking loose.
I mean, that's because people can relate to that. People totally can relate to that.
and I think it makes it's just a good story.
Yep.
You know, set up conflict resolution. You got your conflict right there, whether you wanted it or not. Here it is.
Yeah. What year was that? What year did you start?
I started in 2016, so I've been doing this 9 years now. That's spring.
Crazy.
Was there really anybody out there that was doing it before you? Did you, or was it literally like, I'm just gonna do this? Like, because
there was. So I had the idea without ever seeing anybody on YouTube. I had the idea, and I sat on it for well over a year before I actually made my first video. But in that year, I started looking, you know, trying to see if anybody was doing it, and there was Ryan from How Farms Work.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And Wes, One Lonely Farmer, he's out east.
yeah. Yep.
Those were the two guys that really jumped out. I'm sure there were others doing it, but those were the two guys that really jumped out at the time.
Yeah.
And I know those guys are still going at it too.
Yeah.
So they've been doing it a long time. I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't know when each of them started, but I think it was years before I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and How Farms Work, I mean, that's a perfect Google. Like, every time I see his channel, I'm like, I think he made this channel name for a reason, because it's like literally How Farms Work. That's the best searchable channel that you could get.
It's gonna come up, every single time
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, well, we got that bottle finally open. It was childproof, but we somehow made it through. So
yeah, you have to be a skilled bourbon enthusiast.
So these glasses are from a guy. We had a guy on last episode. His name's Casey Maxted, and he owns a whiskey business called Cold Zero. And every single bottle is, well, the special bottles are signed by a Medal Honor recipient, and it's veteran owned.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty kick-ass dude.
Pretty good.
Got to have a bullet coming in the side of the glass. I mean,
Yeah, is that a 5.56 round?
I didn't
That's
ask him,
cool.
but yeah, I thought, man, that's pretty sick. So let's give her a go. That's got a unique flavor. I don't know what that is. Is that like?
It's whiskey.
Yeah. It's like oaky though. Like it's
Because of the double barrel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It is, and I read the reviews before, and it's supposed to taste like vanilla, caramel, oaky.
I think it's good though.
Double barreled, 115 proof.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's got a little heat. It is good. It's got a lot of flavor, and it's got a really good color.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to drink the whole glass because usually when we do the Whiskey Minute, we do it at the end of the podcast.
Oh.
And then if we have nothing better to do.
I was thinking let's do a whiskey hour. We were thinking alike.
I'm going to finish mine.
Yeah, okay. Well, do you want ice or anything for it, or you?
No, I'm good
no,
right here.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure.
I got the fancy chaser.
Okay, I figured so, but so you grew up in Minnesota, small town kid. What was life growing up as a kid? What did you always know you were going to come back to the farm? What are some of the shit that you got into living on the farm? Everybody loves talking about those stories.
Yeah, I'll go first with. Did you always know you were coming back to the farm? And not necessarily. No, I had a patch there where I wanted to do something else. I think I was, I took it for granted. The farm's just there. It's what we do. It's what Dad does, and Dad always has done a damn good job at it. But I had other things that I wanted to do. And after high school, I went to school for automotive machining. So it was automotive machining and high performance engine building. I wanted to build race car engines. Yep. And I went to school for it for a couple of years, enjoyed it. But I also had the reality of, if you're going to do this, you're going to own your own shop and build engines, you got to buy all your equipment, find a place to put all this stuff to run your business, and then you're going to have to get customers and make damn sure you're good at it.
Yep.
And then once in a while, some of those customers are going to be pissed off at you. And once in a while, some of them are not going to pay you, and you're not going to have that engine you built them, and maybe they blew it up or something. And there was a real reality of, I don't know how much of that I can stomach. I don't know exactly how to go about that. And if it fails, what do I do then? And it just felt like by the time I had got done with 2 years of tech school, I felt like, no, I think I want to go back to the farm. That's what I think that's what I want to do. That's my comfort zone. It's what I want to do. It's a great opportunity, and I've never regretted that. Because at this point now, I don't know what else I would want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, I could come up with things if I absolutely had to, but I don't want to do that. I want to farm.
You're basically unemployable at this point. That's what I tell people. I'm like, so I started out, all I ever wanted to do was farm. And then Hog Business 101 in the 90s taught me that, okay, no, this doesn't work very well. What do you mean you won't give me any more money? Huh, okay, well, that's not going to work. So then I had to work off farm. And what I tell people now, I came back full time when Sawyer started, when he came back, which it's great that we were able to do that. But I just tell people, it's like when you work for yourself, especially in ag, you complain about it sometimes. And there's a lot of things that I get pissed about when things don't go right, which is, you know, at least a few days a week, things don't go right. But
6 to 8 days a week,
something like that. But then once in a while, I'll go to the place that I used to work. I was just there the other day because I had to get parts for one of my hog sheds. And you walk in there, you look around, you're like, yeah, I don't think I could do this, because if I did, like, I would just wander off and they would be like, where are you going? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to run down here for whatever. They're like, don't you can't just do that. You can't just wander off.
You can't just think of something in the middle of something else.
Right. So I mean, that's the problem, is once you get in it, it kind of ruins you.
You're unemployable. Yeah.
There's certainly added stress that comes with being your own boss, but there sure is a hell of a lot of flexibility too.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
So what about, you got any war stories growing up of just some of the shit you got into?
What was your least favorite job or chore that you got shoveled when you were growing up?
This is gonna. I hated chopping stocks. I don't know why. It's not a difficult job. You're sitting in a tractor, right? Just something about it I did not enjoy. I always hated chopping stocks. So when they came out with a chopping header and we got one, I was so happy.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just hated chopping stocks.
Yep.
And that was my job for a long time. Maybe that's why I hated it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because now I think back, man, everybody'd leave you alone. Everyone was done in that field and you're just coming by and cleaning it up with a stock chopper.
Yeah, exactly.
But now, so maybe now it'd be different, but at that time I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. So your oldest child, how old is your oldest child now?
15.
Okay. So have you, some friends, so neighbors of mine, we have this conversation. Like when I was a kid, there were all kinds of just labor-intensive remedial jobs that my dad's like, oh yeah, go take the batch old and mow along the fence line along the road so it looks good. Just stuff that you knew was going to take hours, and it really didn't matter whether you did or not, but keep Junior busy.
Yep.
But like when my kids, as we've grown and technology's gotten better and we automate, it's like you really struggle to try to find these remedial jobs that you can just dump on Junior.
It's definitely gotten easier. It has to have, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, when I think of manual labor around our farm, it's when you got to clean out the bottom of a grain bin.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, we do that several times a year, but it isn't that bad. You sweat for a few hours and it's dusty in there, but it isn't that bad.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't happen that often. I remember throwing hay bales with the neighbors when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you'd work all day and you'd get a check so they could deduct it for like $15 at the end of the day.
Yep, exactly right.
But kept me busy and it was good lessons and stuff, but I don't have hay bales for my kids to throw anymore.
No.
Yeah,
and I don't want to get them because then I'd have to throw them once in a while.
Exactly.
That's exactly
Tell
right.
them a story about when you had this thing, you put straw and hay in this, and then you went.
So this barn has the fork still in it that when I was a kid and we baled hay, it has a track that runs down the middle. The forks are back. You can't hardly see them, but they're hanging back there.
Yep.
So it'd run out to the end, and then it would drop, and you come down to the rack, and you would stack all the bales. You'd start with 2 this way, or 4. You go 2 and 2, and then you go 4. So you'd stack everything either 8 high or 12 high, and it was in stacks of, 8 bales.
How
So
do you get them that high?
So you'd stair step them. So you would start at the back and you'd go 4 high, and then you'd move and you'd go 2, and then you'd have somebody up and you'd throw them up and step them up, and you'd go.
So you're climbing.
Mm-hmm. So we usually bailed with like 3 people, and so you'd have the strongest guy was the one that was throwing them from the bottom, and like when I was the youngest, so I had 2 brothers. I'd be the one on top.
Yep.
They'd throw them up. But anyway, when you go to fork them off, you take 8 bales at a time, and it would bring it up, and then you'd come in here, and it had a rope attached to the forks that whoever was in the mow, when that pile of bales got to where you want it, you just yell, you pulled the string, and it would drop them right there.
So somebody's up here that yells to somebody out there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then somebody's on the rack setting them. But the beauty of it was you didn't have to carry bales to the back of the barn.
Right.
It would bring them, and then you just keep moving, and then you go up a layer. And I was like, and I hated it. It sucked. But I thought that's how everybody did it. And I remember being like, I don't know if I was 12, if I was 10, 12, whatever. I'm probably 12 years old. And, one of the neighbors like, oh, yeah, you want to help us bale, straw or whatever. Sure, go over there, stack bales. We get to the barn. I go up in the barn, and I'm standing towards the back, and the 2 kids are helping me. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just waiting for the bales. And they're like, you got to get them off the elevator. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, you got to get them off the elevator. And I was like, what in the fuck is this? I just remember thinking, this is the most screwed up. Oh, I hated that because drag them all the way to the back of the barn,
That was worse, you thought?
Oh, way worse. Way worse. Because the other thing about it was, now granted, that was a lot faster.
Yeah.
Because it was just constant and you were just gassed. When you were forking them off, it was nice because it took a little bit of time. Because once they dropped, then you'd pull the fork back and it'd drop, and then you'd set them, and then you'd take them up. But I didn't know that. I just thought that's how everybody did it. And then when I found out how the real world worked, it was like, yeah, this ain't worth $2 an hour. I need a raise. And they're like, sorry, kid, this is what you're getting. So
this is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how we did it at the neighbors. They had the elevator at the front, and you'd carry them to the back.
Carry them back.
Yep.
That's how you become farm strong.
And you go home and dig the stuff out of your nostrils and look at the cuts on your arms.
Yep.
Yeah, my experience in this barn was I had a lot of airsoft wars in here.
Yeah.
With
That's
all
tough,
with
isn't
all
it?
the straw.
And he thought he had it tough.
Yeah.
We went through pain up here.
Yeah.
It was close quarter combat up here.
Sometimes you'd run out of CO2.
Yeah. Oh, well, somebody had a CO2 pistol. That thing, that would leave a welt bigger than any other airsoft gun. That thing would kick your ass.
See, we didn't have airsoft. So when I was a kid,
BB gun.
We had BB guns. We had the Daisy 880.
Oh, yeah.
And we would have this pinky swear agreement that you would only pump it one time. And we would have BB gun wars, out in the timber. And there was always that one kid that he pumped that more because it hurt like hell.
His just hurt more than anyone else's.
And then there was one, I had one friend that for whatever reason, his parents did not see the value of anteing up to get him a Daisy 880 air. So he had the old spring Daisy that you cocked.
Yep.
He was no match for the 880.
No.
And we welded that poor kid up pretty well.
You knew his weakness.
I'm pretty sure that was Matt. So, Matt, if you're listening,
Well, he's probably the toughest out of all of you then.
Well, I think that's where his innate need for safety. So he runs a safety consulting company. So he does
sounds
all
like a horrible thing to do.
I think that was the reaction. I think he has an innate need for safety because we probably pelted him too much. So
yeah, he's always looking out for our best interests. When he sees us on a video and we're not following up to the OSHA standards, he's like, guys, come on now.
Can you block him from the videos?
I don't know. Maybe we should.
We should.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about your Onyx, your boy, and I this is a question I always had because I feel like you're one of the few that kind of is going through this right now. With you start a channel, you got this family generation farm. Onyx seems like he's kind of getting in the videos. Do you see this passing on, like the social media passing on to him if he wants to choose to farm?
Yeah.
Like, because I've always thought when we were talking, it'd be so cool to pass this on, not just the farm, but if they wanted to farm and do social media, it'd be cool to, hey,
pass the media torch on as well.
Pass the media torch on.
Like,
so,
I'm a 5th generation social media.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So
you would get a royalty, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
You'd say, son, 42.5% coming my way.
Yeah. I was just curious though, because that's something I feel like not a lot of people are going through that, right now,
Right.
And it's kind of just a new topic in the social media farmscape.
I've had that thought quite a bit in the last couple of years. And I guess as of right now, I've given him reminders to let him know that, hey, if you want to do something online, you want to do some social media, obviously I'm in a position I can help you out with that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I haven't said any more than that. And if he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He has a channel. I don't think he's put anything on it for a few years.
Yeah.
But if he wants to at some point, or the girls want to, I'll help him out as much as I can. That would be cool, because it
would be cool.
For me, them too. They don't know it yet, probably, but it's been life changing.
Yeah.
I mean, and totally unexpected, completely unexpected. And then once we figured it out, I mean, it's taken a ton of work. So it's been life changing. We're really thankful for it, but did not see it coming.
Yeah.
And I hopefully they'll realize that, and whether or not they want to continue something with it, that's up to them.
Yeah. Well, they'll do it better than you, because you're just cringy. You're just cringy.
To them,
they'll do it a lot better.
Yeah, that's how I think about you too.
Well,
every son or daughter thinks that their dad's cringy.
Hell, I watch my own shit and think it's cringy. So I mean, it's fine. You better get going, because if we're gonna do that 3-generation podcast,
hey, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, I know. You got good genetics.
I'm gonna have to get those bags of oxygen from Gary Brecka and the whole red light shit and all that. If you expect me to hold out, I am going to go to Mexico and get the stem cell some point. I got a shoulder that's kind of.
My shoulders hurt. What's this stem cell thing?
Oh, Rogan. I had Mel Gibson on, and there's a clinic in Mexico that they shoot you up with stem cells, and it's like the fountain of youth.
Really?
But you don't want to do it too young, because it doesn't like last. Like if you do it too young.
Well, I think you can hey, I'm not an expert.
Each time you do it, the effects don't last as long.
So these guys that are getting stem cells in their downstairs, probably not a good idea. I've seen that. That's what I've been seeing. Some guys.
What kind of websites are you seeing this on?
I have just seen it on social media. These guys say, "Oh, yep, I got stem cells in my dick, and it's been the best thing ever." And I'm like, okay. That is ballsy, because
literally,
I mean, it is ballsy, because it's like, man, that seems like it's a newer thing, and that's a precious item.
Why don't you pick this up right here and go back to this outline of these really good? We had some really good questions.
I know.
And
we're
then
getting there.
You just turned it right into the ditch.
We're going.
Well, we're not going to talk about stem cells in your dicks anymore.
Well, hey, we can stay on that topic as long as you want.
That's what I practiced the whole drive down.
Yeah,
We're talking about that.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. All I know is that, like, I'm holding out till I'm like 65, 8, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just heard something about the shoulders, and I got some real shoulder issues. I keep getting cortisone in them, and it just keeps coming back.
Yep.
What about your lower back? How's that?
Well, that's a problem like once every 9 or 10 months.
Yeah.
I'll like pick up the TV remote wrong, and then I can't walk for a few days. Damn. It's like when it happens, it's bad.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's fine.
I was gonna say you're a tall guy, so I mean that I struggle with that probably more than anything. It's the lower back, man. That'll take you out
all the time. Any of those problems?
Not all the time. Just if you pull something, or if I go to the gym, and sometimes you're like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that.
It's the jumping.
Yeah. The jumping. Yeah.
It's the box jumps.
Yeah.
That did it to me one time.
Yeah. And then dragging a 300-pound fat hog out a dead hog out. That sometimes
when you're
get
mad,
you. When you're
probably
mad.
mad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That'll get you too. But okay, what are some misconceptions out there that you think consumers have about ag? In your world, you get so many damn comments. You've had so many people watch your videos. You've had so many people react to what you're doing. What do you think are the main misconceptions out there that just people get wrong?
I think the number one thing that I wish consumers would realize is that we're consumers too.
Yeah.
Right. We eat the same stuff as they're eating. So it's in our best interest to take care of the animals and the natural resources and come up with healthy food the same as it is for them. I mean, if we don't take care of our soil and water and air, I mean, it sounds cliche, but who does it affect first? Mm-hmm. I mean, it affects us quicker than it affects them.
Yep.
And that's the tough part. When I got into the social media was I wanted to relate to them about what we're doing. And there's so many management practices that we have, whether it's the way we keep hogs and what we're doing with hogs, genetically modified seed, irrigation is a huge issue in a lot of places. Tillage, things as simple as that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff out there where we have these practices that we use, they're management tools, practices that we use for a reason. I have a reason for using genetically modified seed. If I thought it was killing everybody, my idea of all that would change. But I can see the benefits of it, and that's why I do it. Same as you guys with the hogs, right? Mm-hmm. You can see the benefits of raising the hogs the way that you do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I wish they would understand the most is hey, we're out here actually doing this stuff, and we're consumers too. You guys want to see the hogs be taken care of more than anybody else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're with them every day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Consumers, I think it's difficult for the consumer that's sitting in a major city that has no connection to farming whatsoever. They don't get to talk to you guys every day and really understand how you feel about the pigs in your barns. Mm-hmm. They don't get that, right? And I guess I can understand that too, because from day one, you're selling those things to have them slaughtered. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But they don't see that connection that you guys have with the livestock. So I think it's probably the same way even when it comes to the row crop farming is they don't see the connection that we actually have to the land.
Yeah.
Hey guys, sorry for the change in audio quality and video quality. I'm up in the hog barn right now, and I wanted to let you guys know something pretty special. At farmergrade.com, we're offering whole and half hogs straight from our farm to your doorstep for the first time ever. We're keeping it extremely limited because we want to do a trial run on this. We want to make sure that we do it right and we don't overpromise and underdeliver. So we only got 10 half hogs available and 5 whole hogs available. We have an existing processing date that we're taking pigs in on June 24th, but if you want to add a whole or half hog onto our existing processing date, you can. We kept this, we try to make this as valuable as we possibly can. You can save about 33% on average compared to all this pork that you'd get at the grocery store. And we really want to make the bulk pricing of a whole or half hog valuable to you guys so you can get some cost savings, because I know in this economy right now, it doesn't seem like any of us can get a break. And I know food and meat just keeps going up and up and up. So we're trying to give an opportunity to you guys to have a chance to get some cost savings and fill up your freezer straight from our farm. If that's interested at all, you can always use code BARNTALK. And now let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. And do you think that we just, as I don't know, just the ag space or ag community just didn't get out in front of the negativity? Like, were we last to strike rather than first to strike? Because I just feel like, or is it just because people are just so disconnected to farms now that they just don't?
I think that's part of it.
They just don't know. Because it's like, how did we get to this point where people just literally sometimes think that farmers are the devil? It's like crazy sometimes.
So there's the disconnection. But then the other thing is you have to remember is they hate everything on the internet.
Yes, right.
I mean, look up anything.
Yep.
You'll have everybody telling everyone else how to do their jobs.
Yep.
That people that are, this is the part that really gets me, and I've touched about this on specifically TikTok a few times where I open up a little bit more, is how are so many people so arrogant about so much shit that they know nothing about.
Yes.
And they'll say something in such a way that they are 100% certain that this is how it is, and they couldn't be more wrong. And there's no accountability for that when they're just behind a keyboard, right? Or their smartphone. And I get it. I'm probably guilty of it too, but I think that's the big thing to remember is we're in ag, so we see the negative stuff and we feel like we're being attacked. Everybody's being attacked.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anytime that I feel people coming at us for how we do stuff, just go on TikTok and watch a carpenter put soffit on a house and then read the comments. I mean, you'd swear that guy had no idea what he was doing. And the thing is, the reason I picked that is because, to me, it's like, there isn't a whole lot of magic in putting soffit on a house. Like it's kind of all the same. But no, if you read the comments, I mean, that guy's a complete idiot, however he does it. And that you're 100% right. I mean, we shouldn't really feel that like singled out, because I don't care if you're doing an oil change or you're putting soffit on a house or welding. Welding's another one. Guys that do welding, holy shit. It's like, I would like to, when I see somebody welding, I would like to go, if I had the time, I would go shoot a video of me welding and put that up there, because it's like, if you really want to see somebody that has no freaking idea, it's like, let's see, I don't know, we'll turn it up here. Oh yeah, well that kind of looks like shit. We'll turn it down a notch, and then hit it with a hammer. Oh, it didn't break. I think that's good enough. We'll put it back on. We'll run that.
There's a pile of bird shit that holds the two pieces of steel together. You do the same type of welding I do.
Yeah.
But good Lord of Moses, you'd think that there is a lot of experts out there.
Haters are gonna
just
hate.
Amazing.
Haters are gonna fucking hate, man.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of negative people.
Is there any subject that you have explained so many times that you've written off and just said, okay, I'm not doing another video about X?
Yeah, well, so I never do specific, like I don't do just here's a video about this one thing. If I have something specific that I want to address, it'll just happen within the video at some point. But yeah, there's multiple topics like that I've addressed that are just exhausting to try to defend. There's nothing that I've totally written off, though, because sometimes I also understand that if I poke the bear a little bit, it just gets people rolling in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just as many people on my side that enjoy it and know exactly what I'm doing, or way more than what there are people that I angered, right? So, yeah, there's just... I had some videos recently where I was talking about, it was something that got somewhat political. This was just a couple of months ago, but I made people, they got pretty upset. Help me out here. What was
Trump? Was it about the farm
tariffs?
Tariffs.
Bill?
There it was. It was the tariffs.
Yeah, tariffs.
Okay, so I put my opinion out on what was going on with the tariffs. And part of it was because people were asking like crazy. And part of it was because I was sick and tired of seeing people talk about it that clearly didn't know what they were actually talking about. And part of it was I just wanted people to hear from the farmer about what I think, not every farmer, but what I thought about the situation. And as non-political as I could possibly be, that's how I did that. And people spun it into, I am the biggest idiotic MAGA hat wearing moron that there possibly could be. And it's like, where did you get that from what I said? Just that you came to this video and you were going to comment that no matter what I said. You didn't listen to anything I said. And so, like every good YouTuber, I waited a couple videos and I hounded on it again.
Exactly.
And it worked like a charm.
Well, I think that's one of the things people don't kind of understand. I had a classmate of mine that lives up by Des Moines. He actually called me the other day. Haven't talked to him in a long time. And I answered the phone, and he told me who it was, and we reminisced a little bit. And then he just says to me, he goes, does my brother ever comment on any of your stuff? So he's got a brother that lives in a very liberal state, and he's a union guy, and he's very liberal. And
Is it Minnesota?
No.
Illinois. Illinois.
Okay. It was the next guess.
Yeah. And he comments a lot. And I said, yeah. I said, he does. And he goes, gosh dang. He goes, I'm sorry. And I said, don't be sorry. I said, I love that guy. And he goes, what? And I said, I love that guy because when I see him commenting, I know that video is going to get just a pile of comments because he's so far and one of the best, and he actually didn't leave this comment, but another person very similar to his. I love people that say things like, your videos make me so mad, I can't stop watching.
Those
are my favorite people.
Yep.
Keep watching, baby.
It's like, and I kind of don't understand that. Like, I can't put that because for me, if I'm fine if you have your opinion about whatever, but if I see it and I don't like it, I'm like, all right, nope, I'm good, and I'm done. I move on.
Go watch other stuff.
But for some people, they are just drawn to it, and I don't know whether it's like they have an innate desire that somewhere they think they're going to change somebody's mind or influence somebody, but they usually don't. But
no,
they keep trying.
They satisfy themselves in the moment.
Yeah.
It's to make themselves feel better or smarter.
But
my favorite ones are the guys that say they've watched for a long time and they're never coming back again because something about this video made them upset.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a deal breaker.
Yeah, and I don't think those guys know that you can click on their name and see that same comment on like the last 20 videos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure, buddy. This will be your last one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I
Thanks
appreciate
for the
that.
engagement. Yeah. Yeah. I will say some of your best, like your long form is amazing, but man, your TikToks, your sarcasm is some of the best out there.
It's good.
And like,
it is so good.
You have good sarcasm too. And like in today's world, man, some people literally, it just flies right over their head. They literally don't know sarcasm. And man, I just got to give you credit on it because it's so
one
funny.
One of my favorite lines that you used was you were mowing road ditches. You're mowing road ditches, and you get you pull up and you go. He's like, "Yeah, did you see how that made the road look bigger?" I was like, "Oh man, that is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good." Like, damn it, I wish I would have thought of that.
You had a video where we were switching the oil on. We were switching the oil on the 4066
on the little
R.
utility tractor.
Yeah. And Dad changed the filter, and he had all this oil in a bucket. And
it was at the end of the video.
Yeah, end of the video. We were done with it, and he goes to the camera, and the GoPro's just set up or whatever, and he goes, "All right, well, I guess there's nothing left to do but just go down to the river and pour this in there.
Dump it in the creek.
Dump it in the creek."
Perfect.
And there were some people who were like, "Oh my God, that's torque," laughing their ass off. And there's some people like, "Do you really do
terrible.
that?"
You're terrible.
You're terrible.
You're a horrible
Awful
individual.
person.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Awful.
we need more sarcasm in today's world.
We do.
People need to
For sure.
lighten
I'm
up a little
not
bit.
that bad of a guy. All my friends live upstream.
Exactly right. That's right. All them townies, they get what they deserve.
So, how is farming, you feel like, shaped your worldview? What are some life lessons that you've gotten from farming that, like, you just, I don't know, that you learned that you think everyone that's not an ag or just everybody should know that you've gotten from the farm? I know that's a deep
life lessons from the farm.
life lessons from the farm. That's a deep one.
Jeez.
If you need to take a sip of the latte, you can.
Yeah, I better go with the latte because the whiskey, every time I take a little bit of that whiskey, I can see why you quit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You just think about it.
Well, at the risk of sounding cliche, the farm really does teach you a lot about life and a lot about life and death and the cycle of life and the pride that comes with, raising a crop or raising the livestock and putting in the hard work and actually seeing it come to fruition. right? You buy the raw inputs, you put in the work, and you get to sell whatever it is at the end, the hogs, the grain, whatever. I mean, that's something you can take pride in. You actually get to work every day for something that you can control to a point, obviously, and run your own business and raise your kids that way and teach them about the cycle of life and hard work and success and happiness is not measured with, your bank account or your acreage or the amount of, the head of cattle that you have. I mean, it's whatever it is to you. So at the risk of sounding cliche, I guess that would be my biggest takeaway. And I honestly feel bad for people that don't get to experience that because most people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is that what success is to you? Just seeing that, just what does success look like to you? What is, if it's not building or growing or, expanding, what does it look like to you?
Happiness and stability, comfort, safety, good health. I mean, keeping the family, all of that, right? Healthy and safe and comfortable. Yeah. And you have to make money in life because it's the way you achieve those things. But I don't care what anybody else's bank account says. I hope everybody else achieves those things along with me. Yeah. But that's to me, that's what success is, I guess, is general happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Torque? What life lessons have you?
Well,
gained?
it's so. I'm not gonna get too religious on anybody, but if you have to go put a crop in the ground, or you have to start farrow pigs or start a group of pigs, you have to have that's faith. That, it really makes you kind of understand what faith is. And I kind of take that for granted because it's like you put that seed, that you put all that money out there. Yeah. And you kind of bet your ass that you're going to raise a crop, and you really don't have any idea if you're going to raise a crop. If it'd be easier if we didn't have the news, because you see people every year that put all that money out there and they don't raise a crop because they either get a tornado or it gets flooded or it gets this or you get a fire or whatever. And you put that out there and you just have faith that the sun's going to shine, that you're going to get that rain after it's so dry that you're like, we had a drought, what was that, 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago, where I would get up early. I would get up earlier than I normally do, because if you did get up just as the sun was going up, the corn was unrolled and you're like, oh, it doesn't look too bad. And then by 8:30 or 9, you're like, oh yeah, it's fucked.
You didn't want to see it in the daylight.
Today's the day it's going to turn gray. And then, if it didn't, you're like, oh yeah, we got one more day and we got a 13% chance of rain tomorrow. So to me, that's like, I think about my dad. So my dad was considerably older than I was. So there was this big gap, and he was always very stoic. He never there was no high or low with him. He was just kind of
even
keeled all the time. And I think that it just came down to, he'd seen it. Well, for one, he'd been through the war. And I think that generation, I think anybody, any father that has seen war and been through something like that, it changes your perspective. But then being a farmer on top of it, every year you're just putting it out there, and you've got to have, you just have faith that it's going to work out. And so when I think about, when I have to go to church or I have to go to Sunday school and they talk about faith to me is not near as abstract. And that's something I didn't really realize. I didn't get that. But I think it's probably not as abstract to a farmer as it is to somebody that doesn't do something similar, because you totally have faith in the unknown, because you're just assuming that it's gonna. And my wife hates that, because if you asked her to put a motto on my tombstone, it would just say in parentheses, it'll be all right. Because it doesn't matter what happens. I don't know what I don't know what else to say. I'll just put my arm around her, because let's just face it. I will put up with a lot of things, but the one thing that I don't know how to deal with, that I don't know how to deal with, is an inconsolable wife. Like, that's a lot of stress.
That's a lot.
Like, when you finally pissed them off enough, or you've scared them enough that they are beside themselves,
or they saw something themselves.
I can fix most problems, but I'm all out of answers when that happens. And so then I just mumble, I just put my arm around her and go, it'll be all right, Tricia.
It'll be all right.
It'll be all right.
It is what it is.
Doesn't work quite as good as it did when she was, say, 21, but
I always thought you were going to put on your tombstone in really small letters, "You're standing on my head."
no, I am going to do that. Very small. You're like, get off me. You're standing on my head. Yeah. Or, my favorite tattoo that I would like to get is a dotted line right across my chest that says, "You must be at least this tall to ride this ride." But I'm so short that everybody can
Please
ride.
don't ever do
Yeah,
that. Please do not ever do that.
You know what? You're not my dad. I don't care. You should
don't ever.
probably live on the show.
Ever do that.
From faith.
Why don't you get this out and you look at this damn thing?
From faith to tattoos.
Dicks, faith, and tattoos. We're
That's a good
we're
motto.
hitting all the major stops
Good
today.
motto right there.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think are the biggest challenges or opportunities that ag? What do you think the biggest challenges are in ag right now and in the upcoming future? But also, what do you think are the biggest opportunities in ag coming up?
I think the political climate is our biggest challenge. I really think that is the biggest challenge. You could talk about land and machinery prices all you want, and it's true. They're crazy, and for somebody to try to come in and be a first-generation farmer at scale, close to impossible, right? That's going to be very difficult. You're going to have to get creative with that. But I really think the political climate and everything coming down from there, everything funneling down from the capitals, I think is probably our biggest challenge moving forward. And how do we make sure that when we have the conversations about what we're going to do with agriculture and how we're going to regulate things, let's make sure farmers have a seat at that table.
Yeah.
That whole Maha movement, boy, I hope they're talking to some farmers on stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's not a bad movement, but let's make sure that the people that actually provide this stuff are in this conversation so that we can do it sustainably, right?
Yeah.
As you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Prop 12 thing with the hogs. I mean, how many of the hog farmers around here had the conversation of like, did those people come out here? Did they go tour some sow units? Did they see the workforce? Did they see
what the sows looked like in those pens?
in the open gestation pens?
Why does that sow look like she's been beat to shit? Well, because she's been beat to shit.
Yeah, there's a reason we started using crates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
believe it or not.
And that's
Here, I would like for you to spend the evening with these 12 sows in this pen. Here's
Take
a
your
helmet
shirt
and
off.
some shin
Take your
guards.
shirt off. Yeah.
We'll see you in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think you're right on that, because that's one of those, that was a bill, that it just seemed like they didn't consult farmers, and they just,
Because they don't trust farmers.
yeah. And it's like,
Do you feel like we're losing our voice, or do you feel like we're gaining?
I think we're gaining.
Yep.
I think we were losing our voice for a long time, and I think that has turned a little bit now.
Yeah.
And I talked about it a little bit earlier when I was talking over at Mitchell's event here. I really think we have a lot of opportunities at the same time within agriculture to connect to people. Again, go back to the Maha movement. I think most people want farmers to have a seat at the table with these conversations. I just hope that it's all types of farmers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not the ones that they handpick where they know what these farmers are going to say. But I really think it has turned. I think people want to hear from the farmers.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a huge opportunity that we have Well, at the same time, I'm taking, our biggest challenge, and I'm saying I think we have a really big opportunity there too.
Mm-hmm.
And along the same lines with opportunities, into the same question there, people talk about the things like the cost of machinery and land. And yes, it's extremely high. And if you want to jump in and you want to go 10,000 acres of row crop as a first generation farmer next year, good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to get creative and you want to find some of these niche markets and you want to do direct to consumer stuff, or you want to do social media along with it, there's a million different ways, a million different things that I see right now. Great examples of people who are first generation farmers who are figuring it out. And again, it goes back, I guess, to what success means to you. But there are people figuring out how to farm real profitably as a first generation farmer right now. You just got to think outside the box. And I think there's a massive opportunity for that right now, probably more than we've had in the last 40, 50 years.
No, I agree with you. And, if you're willing to hustle and just make a connection with your consumer, I think that's the other side of it is you can't really work undercover. Like, you've got to put yourself out there. But if you're willing to put yourself out there, there's a lot of opportunities and there's people, the consumer has lost that connection back to the farm because they're so removed from it.
And
they
want
that.
That's why farmers markets have gotten huge.
Oh, good Lord.
They want that.
Yeah. I just saw, this is kind of a little off topic, but it kind of plays into that. I just saw a guy that created it's a business. He created a country club that is centered around health and wellness, like fitness. So he's got a gym, he's got cold plunges, saunas, red light therapy, all that. But he also made it regenerative ag focused too, where it's like a country club that you pay an annual fee for, but you get access to a garden that you can take fresh produce home. There's chickens there. You can take eggs home. There's Highland cattle there. There's
what do you get out of that?
Goat yoga.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
do you get a ribeye this big?
Yeah. I don't think they do that. That's more of a feel good thing.
They're cute.
It's all the trendy shit, but it's what the city consumer. I just think it's interesting that somebody's put together a country club that seems to be doing really well. That's actually kind of a country club, and it takes health and wellness and agriculture of some sort and kind of puts them together, and people are loving that.
Yeah.
And it's like that if that's a telltale sign right there that people want some connection
They do.
to a community and some connection to some type of farming. Now, we ain't gonna shit that out in our backyard, but I just think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's farmer grade.
Yeah.
You would never be able to sell that meat, put it in a box and ship it if it wasn't for the fact that there are people out there that are removed from farms that live in metropolitan areas. They're willing to pay the shipping to get it there because they want to know where that food comes from.
Yep, 100%.
Whether that be you or somebody else.
Yep.
Like, that tells you that it's there no matter what the narrative that's pushed politically. Your average American person, I think, still trusts farmers.
Yeah.
And I think that's for us, the biggest takeaway when we started was that people are okay with how we do things as far as raising pigs inside. They just want to know why you do it that way.
Yeah.
And once you explain this is why we do it, they're fine.
Well, and you show them. You show them the how too.
Yeah.
Other than the haters, which they're the guys that
you're not going to make them happy.
No, because they know better how to put soffit on a building than I do, or on a house.
right.
So
Yeah, and I mean that really was what sparked this idea, because when we did the social media and started the YouTube channel showing the modern day hog farmer, I mean, nobody was showing what was going on in the barns. And I always felt like direct to consumer was always niche market. It had to be regeneratively raised, grass fed, whatever. That's what they preach. But then when we started getting comments like, hey, I've been watching her for a while, where can we get your guys' bacon? I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, they just want to buy the product because they see what we do and we just show it and they trust it.
It doesn't necessarily need the fancy stamps on it.
Yeah.
They just want to get it from you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And so that was like, okay, there's something here. This can be bigger than just maybe our farm. This can be a movement kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, but I'm feeling optimistic. What excites you the most about what's coming in the future?
I think that those opportunities with the niche markets, and I don't know what that would ever possibly mean for our farm. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people know what it might mean for their farm, but if nothing else, it means opportunities, and options. Right now, I'm so entrenched in what I'm doing with between the millennial farmer and just trying to run the farm that it's difficult for me to come up with anything more that I could possibly spend time on right now.
Yep.
And that's a difficult thing because I've always been one to try to come up with that kind of stuff. Even before Millennial Farmer happened, I was always trying to think of what else can we do? What else, what other option is out there? What would benefit the farm and be a good complement to the farm?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my hobby, fell into my lap as a business possibility.
So when you made the decision to come back to the farm, was there concern at that time whether or not the operation could be big enough to support two families?
If there was, my dad didn't show it.
Yeah.
But I was the older sibling, so it's just my brother and I.
Yep.
I was the older one. I think he always kind of knew. I was only gone. I went to tech school for the 2 years. Actually, ended up being not even quite 2 years because I got in a snowmobile accident and had to quit tech school early because I couldn't walk, couldn't drive, all those kinds of things.
Yep.
But I think he knew that I was probably coming back. Probably long before that was done with, and that would have been 2005.
Yeah.
We were in a position where things were better. I know in the 80s things were really bad. I know I hear a lot of stories now from Dad about how bad the 80s were.
Yep.
My props to him because my parents never showed it. When you're a little kid, you don't know what the finances are. It doesn't matter to you. Right? You're just living life. Yep. I'm throwing bales with the neighbors. It didn't matter what the finances were at home, but I hear a lot of stories now about how bad it was. And like I say, props to them because my brother and I certainly didn't know it.
Yep.
So they dug themselves out of that hole, and by 2005, I think he was excited for me to come back and say this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's been a lengthy transition like it is for most farms, but in our case, I mean, YouTube has allowed so many other opportunities as far as me buying into the farm more quickly than I would have otherwise. And, I just turned 40 years old last summer. My son is 15. My daughters are 13 and almost 10.
Yep.
And I've already been thinking for 2 years, if one of them, two of them, three of them want to move in and take this over, what does that look like? How do we do that? Because at some point, the numbers get so big. How do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't fathom trying to get to where I am now without YouTube.
Right.
Just buying my dad out.
Yep.
After a lot of years where it was very difficult for him, but even just trying to get into where I want to be, it's difficult.
It is.
The numbers are just huge. I don't know. There's not an easy answer, and it's not the same for everybody.
No. Yeah. When you start thinking about making a farming operation viable for another generation, it's so hard because as you get older, because I'm in this right now, and it's really interesting because I feel like you start to kind of lose a little bit of perspective because I'm a very poor consumer now. Like my cost of living is going this way because I'm at the age where I like what I like. And it's like the car I drive, why would I get rid of that? Like, I don't give a shit about getting a new one because the one I have, I really like, and I'll just drive it till the wheels fall off. And it's like, I like my chair. I don't need a new chair.
Yep.
Like, you just don't, we don't buy as much. Like Trish and I, we just don't buy as much. So when we look at our cost of living, we look at it and we're like, yeah, this is good. But then you think about his generation or younger, and when you're starting out, like you're accumulating. Not only are you accumulating, but you're being inundated. Your generation is the generation that is being marketed to all the time. So it's like what your idea of need, what I need, and like the older generation, that it's just hard to sit and look at that. It makes for some really interesting conversations. Let's just put it that way, because, and then you start thinking about your return on what you're doing, because in the hog business, your pay in the contract world, your pay has stayed the same, but your expenses go up every year. So it's just eating, and you have to try to figure out a way to get more efficient, and it's really hard to get efficient. And like for us, if it wasn't for social media, there is no way that we could have this farm be viable for another generation. I mean, it's what we're doing because we literally farm 400 acres. Yeah. Now, granted, we raise a lot of hogs, and the hogs are what's made the difference. But so then I think about, what are you going to do? Like, well, what's the thing that's going to enable another generation?
My thing is, where I'm getting to is like, you got to create business. You got to create a business elsewhere. You got to create value in another way. And like that, with like farmer grade, I think like, man, if we could get to a point where maybe this farm isn't just, maybe we don't row crop at all, or maybe we go more of a livestock farm. And if we can run it through the direct to consumer channel and not have to rely on the commodity market all the time, maybe that helps us control our own destiny a little bit more and helps us weather the storms and can make it viable for the next generation. Or just starting a business off farm that might not have anything to do with the farm, but it helps sustain the farm and grow the farm or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, that's where my wheels spin all the time about that. But I feel like creating value in other ways, whether it's on or off the farm, you're going to have to do it. And I think you're going to have to create a business in some capacity, whether it's on farm or off. You're just going to have to, because it's just getting too hard. Or we always say on here all the time, it's either get big or die, or find a way to create your own market. I mean, that's kind of the two realities that we face is that. And that's where I like the Will Harrises of the world that go on Joe Rogan and spit some bullshit, but also I respect him in the fact that, man, he has created his whole farm into being his own market.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he's done is pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome in that way. And that's where it's like, man, we should, regardless of what you think about his practices and what he says, I mean, you got to give that guy credit on that regard, because that is sustainability in that way. Because I think he's controlling his own destiny. I know he's got costs and he's running a business, and it might not be all sunshine and rainbows, but it's in his hands. It's not on the commodity board's hands. It's in his hands. Mm-hmm. So,
gosh, I've just been watching a lot of videos on blackjack, because I mean, we're not very far from the casino, but maybe that's not the most viable option for.
Yeah, probably not.
But how do you know?
That's right.
How
you
do
don't
you
know. You don't know.
Me.
Hit me.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you're not out anything, because it's right up the road.
That's exactly right. I mean, you're not spending much on gas.
No.
There you go. No. There's your cost savings.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. There's a question on here that I think is kind of funny, and Dad might have to give you some context, but it says, by the way, I got you another beer just in case you were needing one, but no pressure. Best bad decision you ever made. So, Dad, you can give some context on this. So you always say, like, if you would have made it through the 90s and came out on the other side, or if you would have built a contract finishing barn sooner, you would never have had to go off farm. But you always like to say it was the best bad decision or best bad thing that happened to you because of all the shit that you learned and all the people that you met.
Yeah, like I've always said that if I would have somehow weathered the 90s farrowing, because we had 400 sows farrow to finish, and I always say if I would have somehow made it through that 98, boy, I'd be a miserable son of a bitch. Like,
You'd be miserable.
Oh, because we did it was all like it was kind of a 24/7 deal, because when you're farrow to finish and you're trying to do it within the family, I mean, you literally never. It's just a cage. You're just running all the time because you're. And I shouldn't say that, because there are people that are good, like the guys that are huge today. The guys that are the biggest producers today, they all started out that way, but they figured out how to delegate. They
built a business.
They built a business, and they built the systems within it to delegate, and they learned how to manage people. And I can still barely manage myself, and I sure can't manage Sawyer. He's a wild card. So, I mean, I don't think that was a strength. So I'm like, if I was still on that wheel, it would have been horrible. So that was a really hard decision. It wasn't the decision that I wanted, but I had to make it, was to get out of farrowing. And then ultimately that led me to working off farm. And, so I had the opportunity very early to build some buildings to contract finish. Actually, the decision was I was going to buy a farrow to finish operation. A neighbor of ours was selling his and moving. And the decision we made was I bought that, and then my dad and I combined the herds, and we made 2 sites, and we farrowed on one, and we finished on the other, and we doubled the number of sows we had. But at the time that was going on, I was dating my wife, and her uncle, I don't think anybody cared. Her uncle was Dave Eichelberger Farms, and they're part of the Triumph Group, and they've got like 56,000 sows or something like that. I mean, they're huge today. And I can remember sitting at Thanksgiving, and Dave said to me, he knew that this sow unit was for sale, this 120 sows. And he's like, my dad had just bought 240 acres for $1,750 an acre. And he was scared to death because there was no way he was ever going to pay for it. And this was in the late 80s. And, we'd been renting it for a long time. And a few years later, it looked like a pretty good deal because land prices took off. But at that time, and Dave says to me, he goes, why don't you just go up on that ground you bought and build a couple finishers for me? He goes, you'll make way more money. And I'll never forget that conversation. And that was at a time when contract finishing was like, that's below you. That's below you. If there was a certain pride in raising your own pigs and owning your own pigs and all that. And I didn't do that. I didn't do that contract deal. Well, if I would have done that, it would have worked really, really well, because I ultimately ended up selling buildings to guys that made that very decision that I didn't make at the time that I made it. And then I sold them their, 10th or 12th or 15th building, when they were living large, because it was a really good decision. But all of the people that I met and all the experiences I had being off farm made me a better manager, like gave me the skills, the business skills that I would have never had if I would have built sheds and it would have worked. I would have been the same dumbass that I was. I wouldn't have grown. I I wouldn't have like learned the lessons that I need to learn. So, wow, that was like a 10-minute deal to say, what's the best bad decision that you've ever made, or maybe you haven't made any.
Yeah, that's a cooler answer than I could think of.
Sorry, I should have talked faster.
Well, I'm 40 years old. I've been farming with my dad for 20 years now, and Dad made a lot of good decisions ahead of me, and we've been trying to grow it a little bit at a time. Obviously, I got the social media thing. Specifically with like farm decisions, there's nothing that jumps out at me. I know when you were talking about the decisions there that you had to make, and we had touched a little bit about the 80s there. Yeah. My dad always says when he had to relocate from where he grew up to where he's farming now. Yeah. Kind of a longer story, but he was born on the farm that we're at now, the home farm. Ended up growing up in southern Minnesota, and then went back to the home farm after he was done with high school. Yeah. So he came back to the home farm, and that was right when the 80s hit. I mean, he ended up down in a hole, and it taught him how to make management decisions, how to watch cash flow, and how to really nickel and dime things and make sure that he was making the right decisions for the farm. The other thing he touches on is when he came back to the home farm there, he was the young guy that didn't have anything, and all the neighbors were living large. They were coming off the 70s, and all the neighbors had everything going for him. He couldn't compete with them. Yep. When the 80s hit, he said it leveled the playing field. Everybody ended up in the same pit he was in, and he said it was probably, it lasted a long time. It was 10 to 15 years where he struggled, but he said everybody was in that same pit with him, and it leveled the playing field, and it ultimately, he feels, today, he feels like that was probably the best thing that happened to him.
Has he ever talked about what's the worst interest rate he had on a loan in the 80s?
He talks about 17 and 18% interest rates.
We had Rob Brenneman on here a year ago, and he was talking about when he got started that his operating loan was like 18%, and it was so funny because we had people comment.
And at that time, I think interest was at
4.75, 5%.
Yeah, like 3.5, 4, 4.5. I can't. And remember.
People literally like thought he was lying. Like we get comments that, oh, that guy's full of shit.
On that high interest rate?
Yeah, on that high of interest rate. Because
let's back to the comment.
They can't imagine it.
Yeah, they can't
even imagine that.
Well,
like
if you're my generation, I mean, until these last couple years, it was 3.5, 3. Yeah. 4. I mean, it was like that for a while.
Well, my whole business when I was selling hog buildings, the reason that was so good for so long is because money cost you nothing.
Cost you nothing, yeah.
It cost you the building price just kept going up. When they started building those buildings, they were $140 a pig space. Today they're $380 a pig space.
Oh man.
But there was a period in there where they went from 140 to 240, but money got cheaper that whole time.
Sure.
I mean, and so it just worked. It worked so good. And then there's a whole generation, and you're right about that, kind of the same thing. Your dad talked about people that came through the 70s. I feel like there's a generation that came back to the farm right there when we rode low interest and high commodity prices. And I stand by this. Anytime commodity prices start to move and then they keep that momentum for a period of years, as soon as you're listening to the big show or you're reading nobody reads anything. Nobody gets a paper magazine. But when you see online, some farm commodity expert writes an article that we've hit a new plateau in the corn market, that's the time to get scared because it's just going to drop like a hammer,
Get
and nervous. I remember when corn was, $7 and the world is, we're never going back. We're never going back. And then we went way back.
Yep.
So, yeah, but no, that 18%, 17%, that's like a whole different world to people. Like they have no idea how that you even could make that work.
My dad has the papers for a purchase agreement from some 2 quarters of land up the road from us, 1 mile north of us, that's sold in the 80s. And he has the agreement there, never signed it, never, this was something that they gave to several neighbors.
Yep.
And it didn't end up actually selling to any of the neighbors, but the price was $700 an acre. But it was at 14 or 15%. I can't remember what exactly, but, and it's like, you look, all I saw when he showed me that when I was 18 years old is $700 an acre. Why didn't you buy that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of the neighbors bought it.
The purchase price is the easy part.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
like he
payment
said,
schedule's the killer.
it was like he always says, it was $700 an acre because nobody could buy it.
Yeah.
Nobody bought it. It was hard to sell land. You couldn't give the stuff away back then.
Yeah.
Nobody
So
had the
crazy.
money.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Nobody had the money, and the cost of using somebody else's money was so high.
Yeah.
So I have a question because I just have 2 questions. One, so the guys that were in the 70s, they were making a pile of money. Do you feel like, because your dad said it leveled the playing field, was it just, did they just not see it coming at all and they didn't do you feel like they were not managing things at a level that they should have been, a lot of those guys, because they were just riding high for so long and they were like, we're going to be good for a while. And then the 80s hit and it was like, holy shit, like that. Like what, because I think about like when we talked about these guys that were just trading equipment, interest was so low. These guys have just been trading equipment. And now that's not going to work, right? The rates have gone up, everything's gone up, and you might be stuck with
you adapt. So you adapt the environment you're in, but the other thing you got to remember is like,
I guess I just don't have perspective on how bad the 80s were.
well, so think about this though. So like my parents, we had 200 sows, farrow to finish. There was no record keeping. Like the record was the checkbook. My mom balanced the checkbook. And my dad equated most things to how many pigs am I going to sell? And we farrowed every week. And we sold pigs every week, farrowed pigs every week, moved pigs every day. Like sell 2 straight truckloads of pigs on Monday, move pigs from the grower to the finisher, from the nursery to the grower, move out so many sows, wean so many pigs, go over to the gestation barn, sit there, look at that sow, grab her tit. Oh, better get her shut up. Look, that was how it went. There wasn't any record keeping. So to your question about did they not see it coming, things were good and there was money in the checkbook. And like I've talked about, before Precision Structures, there was Claude's first business was called Confinement Specialists. And he sold modified open front hog buildings, like Nebraska style hog buildings. And he always made the comment that it didn't matter what it cost. When he went out and talked to a farmer, they didn't care what it cost. It was the mindset of getting pigs out of a barn lot. If you could convince them that was a better way to do it, they didn't give a shit what the building cost because they had the money to pay for it. And it's not like they had a cash flow. Like I'm sure there were guys that probably did a paper cash flow. I mean, there was no computers, so it's not like you could just spit out. So most people, they ran, they balanced a checkbook. They knew how much money they had, but they didn't really, they didn't have the tools we have today. So when that all changed, it took a lot of people by surprise, and a lot of people didn't see interest coming that hard. I mean, look how much, to what we talked about, guys that traded combines, like we know people that literally bought a combine, didn't make a payment, and traded it because it was 0% interest. Why would you bother? And then the whole downstream, there was a market for that machine.
Yep.
And there was a market for the machine after that.
Yep.
So the system just worked. So why would you buck the system?
Yeah.
Until it changed. And then when it changed, people were like, shit, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe I'm wrong here. You could tell me if I am, but in the 70s, if things are good and you're making money and you're just so busy working and making money
Yes.
instead of putting together cash flows,
Yeah.
you know you're making money, and then all of a sudden you're not making money, but you have the same payments you had last year.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe where it bit a lot of guys is we're making a ton of money and the neighbor's land is for sale. Let's buy that because
Make
we
more
know we're
money.
making tons of money. And 2 years later, oh shit, I still gotta pay for that.
Yeah.
And also another thing that I feel like lasted longer, but that was a generation that it wasn't it in their mind, if you just worked harder than everybody else, the rest of it take care of itself, because you were at a time where you were transitioning from a lot of manual labor to technology, and a lot of farmers, they literally had that attitude that if I work harder than everybody else and I work longer than everybody else, I'm going to be successful.
Well, and they were probably coming off of a few decades where that was true, right?
Exactly.
So that's probably, probably the perfect storm of all of those things.
Yeah.
But, you look at today, if the neighbor's farm comes for sale and you have any shot at it, you're going to try to buy it.
Yeah.
But if 5 years from now things tank, which they kind of are at the moment, but you know what I'm saying? Like that'll
Yeah,
catch
I was
up
just
to
going to
you.
ask you, do you guys feel like that could come again? The 80s, what we went through there, do you feel like that can come again?
Well, I think you're already a little bit there on anybody that doesn't really know their numbers. I mean, it's like Jace, when we had Jace Young on here, Legacy Farmer. I mean, anybody that's in that business of finances and banking, if you can't do a cash flow projection for yourself and know what your cost of production is, because the difference is in the 70s, people didn't have good records, but the margins were so good, we probably didn't need to, because if you worked hard and you put the crop out there and you got it in the ground at a decent time and you weren't stupid, you didn't spend money stupidly, you were making good money because the margin was there. Now then, our margin per acre, per bushel, you did that video about what each kernel, and I thought that was so good because that really put it in perspective for people, like what it takes to pay for that acre of corn and what each ear, what each kernel. So your margin is just so much narrower. I mean, there's already guys that are, I think we're there.
Yeah, what do you think?
We're there.
Yeah,
think
I would
the
agree
same
with
thing?
that. I didn't manage a business through the 80s. I was born in the 80s. I've heard a lot of stories from the 80s, but I don't have any reason to believe that it couldn't happen again.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm kind of the other way. As much optimism as I have about agriculture, I feel like there could be some big reset at some point because there are certain things that are easy. We talked about the physical labor side of things. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff within the industry that's gotten a lot easier in the last 40 years, right? And I think, I really think that there is the potential for a big reset. And I think the opportunities that we've been talking about, that we've talked about earlier, I think people that have something else going that benefits the farm, I think those are the people that are going to be the strongest. If you have stuff diversified a little bit, I think that's really where a lot of potential can come from.
Yeah.
To help weather through stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's switch gears a little
I
bit.
haven't looked at my sheet at all.
I know. I feel like I'm just going like this. I'm just going like this. Softball.
You guys have good questions.
Well, good. Hey, we appreciate
Thanks,
it, man.
Gronk.
Yeah.
Grok.
Dad always calls. I use Grok.
What does that stand for?
So Grok is Elon Musk's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And so I sometimes, like, when we were having you on, I had a list of, we had an outline made, and then I was like, I want to ask him some shit that, like,
That
he
you
doesn't
aren't going to
get
get
all the
asked on
time.
other.
You've been on so many podcasts. I want to get some good shit.
You
and
did.
I was like,
There's some good questions.
and I was like,
I wish I
let's
had
ask
better
him-
answers.
Well, you got damn good answers. What I always like to say is, what I love about Rogan is, I want this to feel like a conversation. I don't want to feel like
Yeah.
we're just asking.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's what we try to strive for. And I think, I just like throwing them up. And like I said, I don't have perspective of the 80s or any of that stuff. And I know you guys talk to Grandpa and you talk to your dad. So, it's good. But
before you get any deeper, do you guys have a restroom?
Yes.
Yep.
You want to take a break?
Yep.
All right, let's take a break.
I have a good question for you. So, like, has it been when you've started to get to where you were having some success, but with that, you have to be consistent. Part of growing an audience is being consistent.
Yep.
So what'd your dad think? Or the other people involved in the farm, like, were they like, what in the hell is he doing?
So before I ever started the channel, before I ever made my first video, I pretty much asked for Dad's blessing. I made sure he was okay with it before I did anything because it was his farm.
Yep.
So if I'm going to be putting this out there on YouTube, he better be okay with me doing that. So I got his blessing on it first. And I know his feeling at the time. He was always active in advocating for the industry through the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. That was his way of advocating for what we do. And I think he knew that this was my idea of advocating for it. It was just different. And I've always been good. I've been lucky, I should say, to have Dad in the way that he understands those kinds of things. Yeah. So he's always been open to that kind of stuff. He never said, no, don't do that. He said, go ahead and go for it, whatever you want to do. But he also said, I don't want to be in the videos.
Yep.
I don't, as long as it doesn't involve me, go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
Well, that's good.
And for like 2 years, there was never another person in my videos. Maybe my wife, maybe once in a while the kids. But I started getting questions. Hey, are you the only one that works on this farm? What's going on? No, I'm giving everybody else the respect of not having to be on my videos.
Yeah.
And at some point, people were asking enough. They wanted to hear from Dad. They were interested in learning from Dad. And so I actually did a couple of videos with him specifically where we talked about the history of the farm. And I think, I know that eventually Dad started to really see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
When you've got, you put a video out and 400,000 people watch you combine corn, he saw the power in that. So he was hesitant at first. He didn't fully understand why I wanted to do it that way, but he never said, don't do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Is it hard to balance everything?
Very.
You got any insights in that? Because we're not doing very well.
I don't have a lot of advice. I deal with it every day, trying to balance everything. I got 3 young kids.
Yep.
They're getting a little bit older, which in some ways makes it easier.
Yep.
At the same time, it makes it more difficult because I can see now my 15-year-old son is much more independent. He's starting to drive around. He's gone a little bit more. He's doing his own thing.
Yep.
And I don't want that to happen with my girls. I want to be there with my girls as much as I can because now I know what's coming with them. So even like this, driving down here today, I was not driving down into the area anyway because I got other stuff going on. But I'm going to be down here for 3 days, and that's tough this time of year. I'm leaving Dad at home running the sprayer. I'm leaving all the kids at home. I have a terrible addiction to a hobby of dirt track racing.
Yeah.
Spent all last weekend doing that. And I'm the crew chief, so I'm doing a ton of the maintenance. So yeah, it's a difficult balance all the time.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute, because was that something that you were into earlier and then you didn't do it? Or have you done that for a long time?
The racing?
The racing.
I've done it since I was 15 years old.
Yeah, and you never really took a break. You just didn't show much of it.
Right.
Yeah.
When I started the channel, I purposely hid it from the channel.
Yeah.
And the deeper I got into the channel, the more and more I hid it because I get a lot of comments from people, oh, this must be nice, you know, this and that. And like, well, I definitely don't need to show them what's in that other shed over there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So for the longest time, it was that. And then I got to a certain point where I just said, you know what? If they're gonna hate it, they're gonna hate it. Whatever. This is me. I mean, my biggest passion in life is the dirt track racing. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna waste millions of dollars doing it over the course of my lifetime because it's what I want to do. I don't want to go bass fishing.
Yeah. Right. So what's the health of dirt track around the Midwest? Is it because so growing up when I was a kid, so Eldon, 34 Raceway in
Burlington. Been there.
Columbus Junction had a dirt. They still do have a dirt track. West Liberty. So I mean, it was, and there's a lot of guys involved in the livestock industry that were also big into dirt track.
Yeah.
But I feel like it kind of fell off maybe a decade ago. So I don't know that much about it today. So what is it as popular? Is it growing? Is it dying? Is it?
It's not, I don't think it's growing. It's gotten really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's an expensive hobby to have. It's time consuming.
Yep.
And there's a lot of other fun stuff to do on the weekends.
Yep.
You know, the internet exists. There's a lot of, you can find 100 things going on in your local towns besides dirt track racing every weekend now. I don't think the kids
that you only have to pay $35 to go do.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The kids don't want to go get dirt in their hair all night, you know? I mean, some do.
Yeah.
Those are the cool kids in my eyes.
Yep.
But I don't think it's growing, unfortunately, but those of us that are entrenched in it, it's what we love to do.
Yeah.
I also don't think it's going away.
Yeah.
I actually had this conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago how do either of you follow Formula One?
A little bit. I mean, I'm not diehard by any means, but I keep up a little bit with it.
So I've loved racing my entire life.
Yeah.
My dad raised me to growing up to love racing. He was a sprint car guy.
I was a big AJ Foyt fan.
See,
when I was a kid.
I never got into IndyCar or Formula One.
Yep.
I was really into NASCAR for a while, but now I find myself following everything in Formula One, and it's because of that damn Netflix show.
Yeah.
Where I started watching that Drive to Survive, and the true Formula One fans like to make fun of people that came over from that, but whatever. I follow Formula One because of that. I think if Netflix or any of those other companies came out with a solid dirt track show, I think that sport could grow so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what I've started to. I've got a second channel now called Between the Rows where we put some racing stuff. It's been really difficult because when I'm at the track, I'm so focused on what's going on with the cars and all the work to be done on the cars that I don't think about making videos. Mm-hmm. I've said this before, and it's been a struggle before, but I think I have another guy that's going to be doing some video for us.
Yeah,
nice.
I hope we're on to something here to get that channel moving.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, that'd be huge, and I mean, I think that'd be hard for you too because for a long time, you know, you just kept that side of your life private and you just kind of did your thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, shit, I don't need to bring the camera out. But
right.
It makes it hard when you have to make that transition. Then do you feel like you film, if you have to shoot that too, you feel like, man, am I shooting all my life pretty much then?
That is the struggle, right?
Yeah.
Because
people don't get it. It is exhausting.
It is.
I mean, it is draining to, because it's not only you're just doing and filming, you are thinking about, okay, what do I need to add?
What was the last clip I took?
Yes.
What did I say? How do I make this flow?
Yeah.
Do I need this clip when I walk from the truck to the combine? Do I need to say this or that so they know what's going on? It's always a second. You're doing two jobs at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now with the racing, the struggle that I've had, you know, I mentioned all the stuff that I'm focused on the car and everything when I get there. I'm also turning my hobby into a job. Mm-hmm. And I want to be real careful that I don't get carried away with that.
Yeah.
Because I already turned my job into a second job.
Yep.
By bringing my hobby into a job, right? My hobby was the YouTube thing.
Yep.
And that became a job.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's a goal? Where do you want it to go? Like when you think about dirt track racing, like is your biggest goal with that to just see, because I know Onyx is involved in it too.
Yeah.
Is just seeing him thrive and be successful in it. Is that like your North Star with it right now, or?
At this point, yes.
Yeah.
When I was 15 years old, when I was his age and I started, it's the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
I had a lot of success in my teens and early 20s. I won a lot of late model races. WISSOTA is the sanctioning body that we have north of here.
Yeah.
I won 3 national championships in the WISSOTA late models. We bought an open motor, did some open motor racing with the World of Outlaws and Lucas Oil type of stuff. Very little, because we just didn't have the money or the time to be on the road and buying the kind of tires those guys were going through. But at that time, my goal was to race dirt track for a living. That's what I wanted to do so bad. But it didn't work out because of the time, the money, and now I'm 40 years old. It's not going to happen again unless I take my own money and I do it myself. Yeah. Which I could do, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to race around home and I want to help develop Onyx into it, right? Or my daughters, if they decide they want to get into it.
Yeah.
Onyx, on a side note there, Onyx got his first win a week and a half ago.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Backed
awesome.
it up with a second win on Sunday. At
That's
two
awesome.
different tracks, 2 different states.
Yeah.
He's been running smooth. He's been running really good. So
That's
it's been a ton
awesome.
of fun.
Yeah.
It's good.
Does he have that? You feel like he's got that fire to want to go?
He does,
Go.
and I think the wins have
Built that up even
built
more.
that fire way bigger.
Does- do you f- yeah.
I can see, I've been around racing my whole life, and you can just see when people have it or they don't.
Yeah.
You can't always tell when someone's 15 years old. You can't tell the difference between who's going to really be the guy versus who's going to be good, but maybe not this
Great.
guy, right?
Yep.
But I can see that Onyx is a smooth driver. I can see he's heads up. If the wreck starts happening, he sees it. He sees it happening. Yeah, I mean, he's my kid, right? So I'm biased. But I think he's doing a hell of a job.
That's
totally
badass. That's cool. That's really cool. Do you feel like he has more of a drive and hunger to take that as far as he can take it more than the farming, or is it both, or is he kind of figuring that out?
I think it depends on the day.
Yeah.
He's 15 years old and he's got ADHD, so he is hyper focused on one thing for a week, and then it's on to the next, right? So we've been able to give him things to make sure we keep him focused on stuff. But for a long time, he loved hockey. He's always kind of loved the racing. He'll come and go with farming, loves hunting and fishing, in those seasons. He's got a window washing business now. He's also, he has
a
no
hustler.
social awkwardness whatsoever.
Yeah.
He will talk to anybody at any moment, anytime. And he just decided one day he's going to wash windows for a business when he was like 13 years old. Mom, can you give me a ride to town? I got all this stuff in my radio flyer wagon. I want to walk around and wash windows.
Hell
And
yeah.
it worked.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Like him and his buddy now, he's 15, his buddy is 16, and they're just scheduling like 3 weeks out for window washing jobs. And they'll go out for a weekend and come home with like $1,000 between the two of them.
Yep.
It's awesome.
That is awesome.
That is, you don't need to worry about that kid.
Yeah, he'll
be fine.
It's a little bit weird that he has no weirdness in that way. Like he'll just come knock on the door and see if you want him to wash your windows today.
The only downside of that is he is ruined for working for somebody else.
Oh, for
Because,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like I talk about both of my boys. It's so cool when you see them like make that click that like, I could just start this, whatever it is. And I'm just going to go try this.
Yep.
And it's great. And then when people ask you about it, like people will ask me, like, how did that happen? What'd you do that? I don't know what I did. I don't know what Trish and I did to make that fire. But I say, the one thing I do know is I've successfully ruined them for working for anybody else, because once you go out and you wash windows and you make money, then you will never go, oh yeah, I think I'm going to go, do this or whatever.
Yeah.
So
You want to build your own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's just
the
that.
best thing he ever did, and I ask myself that question all the time, is how do I have the drive that I have? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know why. But I do think the best thing you ever did, and I've said on the show countless times,
beat your ass. That's
that's good when you need it, but
because I can't do it now.
yeah,
It's a good thing you did
Screwed
it when he
now.
was,
yeah.
when he
There
was
you
a
go.
little guy.
You had the edge then. You don't have it now. So watch your mouth.
Easy boy, now you're getting lippy.
Yeah, now I'm getting lippy. Yeah.
I got one of those leather. You seen those leather things they're selling on TikTok Shop that you can just whap the shit out of somebody?
No.
I got one
Well,
right over here.
now I'm scared. All I'm gonna say is the best thing you ever did is I think if you don't crush your kid's spirit, that is the best thing you can do, because no matter what, any idea I came to him about, or my mom,
No matter how stupid
it was never, oh, that'll never work. Don't ever try that. That's never, they said, yep, go for it. That sounds like a solid plan. Like, make sure you might be thinking about these things, but the market's going to decide. And they didn't ever told me, oh yeah, the market's going to decide, but the market's going to decide. If it's a good idea, it's going to work. And if it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
You know? And so having a support system that never crushes your spirit and says that what you're trying to think about or dream about is not possible, that's huge. That's so huge, because I feel like I can come to my family and I'm going to get real feedback, but also they're not crushing my spirit because they think it can be possible. They think it can be done, you know, and that's huge for a kid's self-esteem, I think.
Oh.
That's huge. Massive.
That's wise advice from a
Look at
young
that.
guy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that's when I think about that, you know, I mean, lemonade stands. I started a drop shipping store when I was like 17.
Doggear.com.
Dog gear store where I was because I found this, you know, niche of dogs. Everybody loves dogs. I'm going to start a drop shipping store.
What were your dog?
So like drop shipping, when I was like a senior in high school, drop shipping was this new model where you know, it was the hot thing to do. And, you know, I fell probably a little too hard for that. And I made a little money doing it.
Build a website.
But it was like, build a website, use AliExpress, because they'll get your product and they'll just ship it directly to your customer and you don't have to have any inventory. And look for niches that people, you know, doing all these hacks, right? You're figuring this shit out. And I started this drop shipping store to sell dog shit, dog toys, dog stuff. And I did it. And I'm sure I told you guys, and you guys were probably like, when I left, you were like, what the fuck is he thinking? You never said, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard, Sawyer. Don't even, like, what are you thinking? You never said any of that shit.
We did say all that in private, but then we called all our friends and said, all right, if you go to this website and you buy something, I'll reimburse you for just throw the kid a bone and buy a leash or something. And
but I think that's foundational. Anyway, do you have any, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on parenting? You got any good advice for anybody?
Good parenting advice.
Well, just, good. What do you think? What do you got?
Nothing.
It's a miracle that these three kids you got three?
I got three.
It's a miracle they're still alive.
3 kids, and then we fostered our niece.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Well, I was telling you earlier, when we went through the 80s, I didn't know how bad it was.
Yeah.
Kids don't know that.
Mm-mm.
You know, happiness doesn't come from the checkbook. So, I mean, take that to heart, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if that's advice or not, but it maybe help you out.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, nobody's going to be the perfect parent.
Yeah.
I've definitely learned that. You're just not.
Yep.
If you think you are, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to be the perfect parent. You're going to have those times you feel like you screwed something up. It happened, so don't dwell on it. Work with it, whatever you got to do. But you're going to have those moments.
Have you ever, so getting back to your dirt track and then we'll move on. Have you ever made a purchase of an item for the farm and made part of the deal whether or not that supplier would give you sponsorship for your car?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I sold this guy in Missouri a 4960 hog building, and so he's a big tractor puller. big time.
Yep. That's the other option.
Super
it's like
modified.
you're a dirt track racer or a tractor puller.
Yeah.
Yep.
And went down there, and you're trying to read people, like you got to find their pain as to what it is that they're really about with this purchase, whether it's I'm going to try to bring a kid home, or I really want the fertilizer, or whatever it is. You're trying to figure that out. And like this guy, I just could not, I couldn't figure out he just didn't strike me as the type of guy that wanted to make this big of an investment into a contract finishing building. And go through the proposal and put it all down. And I was taught very strongly, like, the person who speaks first loses. So you total it all up, and you spin the deal around. How's that look to you? And you just sit there. And he looks at it, sits there for a minute, and he goes, "Looks good. There's only one thing that I need from you." I said, "What's that?" He's like, "I'll sign this today and I'll give you a check. If you'll write me a check for $5,000 to sponsor my pulling tractor." That was his only litmus test. Whether it was me, whether it was Hogslat, whether it was the guy down the street, whoever was going to write him a check to sponsor his pulling tractor, that's who he was buying the building from.
Did you write the check?
I think we did, actually.
Yeah.
I think we did. I think that's how that went.
Yeah.
So I was
now
like,
you know how a lot of those names end up on race cars.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you were telling that story, I'm like, yeah, I bet she's done that.
Yeah. So I just was curious when you were talking about dirt track racing. I don't know shit about it, but if you do that and that's your full-time gig, like, can you make serious, like, a good living being a dirt track racer? Like, is that, like, career-wise? Because you can be a full-time guy.
Or do you need to move?
Or do you have to have a side gig to do it too? Like, I just don't know.
You can.
Yeah.
There are guys that do.
Okay.
But most of the guys that do it for a living, they're not making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
They're making enough money to do it. They're making enough money to make a living.
Yeah.
Most guys are not making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson, the NASCAR Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Is a huge dirt track guy. His passion is in dirt track racing. But he also knows he's good enough to drive a NASCAR. He can make a ton of money running NASCAR.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned one time that he thinks most of the good dirt track guys, the really good guys that are doing really, really well at the highest levels, are making as much or more than the bottom half of the NASCAR guys.
Really?
Wow. That's
but
awesome.
you'd probably be surprised at the bottom half of the field in NASCAR. They're probably not making a ton of money.
And it's not. If I listen to Earnhardt a little bit. I probably listen to maybe once a month. I listen to him, and and it's like when we had Taylor on, the heyday of NASCAR. These teams. I mean, they employed when we had Richie on. How many people did he say they were working there? Like that, he worked at Hendrick Motorsports when they were still actually building the cars. Like they had guys in there that was bending the tubing. They were making the chassis. I mean, there was like 300 people,
Probably.
150 people, something
hundreds
like that.
of people.
And now then, it's so tight. They're buying everything off the shelf. They're buying rolling chassis, and it's really tight. If you're not in the bottom half, I mean, you're not making jack.
Yeah.
You're barely keeping the lights on.
Probably. Yeah, you're probably right. And you're doing it because it's what you love to do.
It's kind of like grain farming.
Honestly,
just handling a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that farm for not a whole lot of money, right? Because it's what they want to do.
Get that Beck strip. Sorry, I don't mean to bag on the Becks people, but yep, getting that one good vacation a year, and other than that,
that's right.
Just grind her out, boy.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about Farm Rescue and all the stuff that you've done with them in the past. What's made you such a big advocate for grain bin safety, and what got you down that road, and what message you want to put out there on that?
So on the grain bin safety side, because you kind of asked two questions.
Yeah,
there.
Sorry. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Come on.
I know.
The grain
whiskey's
bin,
getting to me. I apologize.
It's a quick one.
It is
whiskey
a quick
got
one.
to me quick.
Yeah.
I had to hurry up and finish it so it'd go away.
Yeah. So just talk about those two things, because I know you're involved in both. But
on the grain bin safety side, we were seeing it was in the news so constantly up in our area that people are getting hurt or killed in grain bins. And Minnesota, I believe Minnesota leads the nation in grain bin deaths. And I think it's as you go north, we just have more grain bins. I think our basis is bad. So holding over grain probably pays a little bit more. We also have more grain dryers because we're dealing with wet grain in the fall. So we're drying it down ourselves on the farm. I think that's probably why. So we saw so many accidents that seemed like a lot of them could have been prevented. And trust me, I'm guilty myself of making stupid decisions in a grain bin, because when the work's got to be done and someone's got to go in there, you know, I am a super impatient person. I want to be getting the work done. And when something stupid happens and I can't work anymore, I'm in a real big hurry to get back to where I can be working. So I will jump in the grain bin and do whatever we need to do. And it was really my wife, to her credit. She brought it up, you know, like what's going on? Why are farmers doing this when you can see, you know, the neighbor was killed last year in a grain bin. Why are we jumping into grain bins? And every year, it's not like every year you hear of a farmer dying in a grain bin. It's over and over and over. Somebody died today 300 miles away. Somebody, you know, it's a constant thing. And we've always believed, since the YouTube channel really took off and we had a platform, we've always believed that it's important to use that platform for good, within the industry especially. So we saw an opportunity there to try to help out in what ways we could. And we also felt like the best way to do it would be to give it to the individual communities and let them decide what is the best way. Not tell them how to do it, but let them decide. So what we did was, originally, the first thing we did with grain bin safety was we told the viewers that, hey, we're going to donate $5,000 and we want to give it to local volunteer fire departments and first responder crews for rescue training and rescue equipment to help them out in the situation where they would have a farmer that ends up in a bad spot in a grain bin. As soon as we did that, we had so many comments from people that said, well, I want to give too. How can I give to this? And it was hundreds of comments wondering about that. So we set up a GoFundMe. And in the next video, I said, here's the GoFundMe. Here's the link. If you guys want to give, you can give. We don't know yet exactly how we're going to handle this or what we're going to do, but here's the GoFundMe account. A couple weeks later, we had $60-some thousand in a GoFundMe account.
Wow.
I don't know what I'm doing with $60,000 of other people's money.
Yeah.
We didn't have a nonprofit set up or anything. We didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
Thank God we set up the GoFundMe, right? And I'm like, all right, before we move any of this, we got to I got to call the accountant now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we set stuff up. We moved our own money that we were donating into there. And then, so we ended up with, we had almost $70,000 in this account. And we told people we're going to go live on YouTube, and we're literally going to draw out of the popcorn bowl for these fire departments that are going to get $500 or $1,000. And we're just going to keep going until it's gone, because we had people email us nominations for these small town volunteer departments, right? Like I'm sure you have around here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we had hundreds of emails to filter through. And when I say we, I mean my wife.
Yeah.
Had hundreds of emails to filter through. Write down each name of these fire departments, crumple it up, and toss it in the popcorn bucket. We went live on YouTube that night with myself, my wife, my buddy Randy, the master pipe layer, his brother Joey, and I want to say somebody else was there with us. I don't remember now. But as we're doing this, people are like, well, what is this? This is awesome. I want to join in. So people started paying us through the YouTube channel, giving us these, I think they call it like a super thanks.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, people were giving $200, $500, $1,000 in, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, you couldn't get to the bottom of the popcorn.
We're just going to keep drawing if this keeps coming in. Yeah. The weird part was that money coming in on the YouTube Live is going directly to my Google account. So now it's like That's coming to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
So now I'm like yanking my hair out as we're live on the live stream trying to figure out how I'm going to do this.
How you're going to keep it straight.
We ended up taking a hell of a lot more out of our pocket than the original $5,000 because I mean, we were 2 hours in now and we're 10 beers deep and my wife just like kept drawing names and I'm like, well, hold on. Don't draw another one until we do some math on this, you know?
Oh, yeah. The math gets pretty fuzzy at that point.
Well, so in the end, we ended up giving, it's well over $100,000 worth.
How many fire departments?
It was like 70 or 80 different fire departments we've given
that's
to.
awesome.
In somewhere between 15 and 20 different states. And I can confirm with 100% certainty that we have at least saved one life in Illinois. And I got that from the fire chief who emailed me. I was actually a part of their podcast that the equipment that they purchased came from through that I guess it'd be nonprofit money now. At the time, it wasn't set up. We have it set up now in case anything like that happens again because I'm terrified of that.
Yeah.
I got all this money of other people's.
Yeah.
I'm going to make damn sure that gets spent the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So
That's badass, though.
It's been,
That was awesome.
it was super humbling to be a part of that. And
That's so cool.
to be able to use the platform that I started for the good of agriculture and do something like that with it was just like
That's so cool.
crazy.
Yeah. Kudos to you guys on that. That's badass. All right. Let's talk about farm rescue.
So the farm rescue thing, it kind of stemmed from the original idea that we have this platform. We've got, hundreds of thousands of followers at that point. How do we give back? And we looked into a lot of different organizations and trying to figure out where we're going to give money to. And farm rescue just kept popping up. And I love what they're doing. I love how they do it. I mean, they literally show up and do the work.
Yep.
They're not just cutting you a check.
Right.
They are finding the farm families that actually need help.
Yeah.
And they'll roll in with the combines, the planters, the semi-trucks to haul hay or whatever it is you need. They figure it out. They've got the volunteers, they've got the manpower, they've got the equipment, they got the logistics figured out, which has to be a complete nightmare. The logistics on one farm, you guys know what that's like.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot imagine trying to put together the logistics of all the volunteers and the equipment to go from farm to farm to farm in different states. But the way they do it is just so impressive and it's so cool. And to see how much they've grown and to be able to highlight them, originally it started with, we're going to cut them a check. And I would encourage others to do the same because we feel like they're doing a lot of good. Yep. This is me saying thank you to the viewers. We have benefited from this. We're going to pass on some of that benefit to the industry because I think Farm Rescue is doing awesome. And it worked. And Farm Rescue came and said, hey, at the time, I don't think they knew who I was. And they're saying, like, we're getting all kinds of people talking about you. We got the money rolling in. Like, this is awesome. I mean, what can we do together? And so what we've done is a few times I've gotten together with them and I'll actually go to them on location where they're helping out a farm family. And I'll drive the combine or whatever it is they need help with. And I'll be there with the camera to spotlight what Farm Rescue is doing. And I've always been clear that I don't want to make a spectacle out of somebody else's hardship. Yeah. It's not what it's about.
Yep.
So I've always told Farm Rescue, find me the right scenario where we're not making a spectacle out of some horrible tragedy, but where we're actually moving in and helping the farm family and everybody's okay and we can just highlight the good work that you guys do. Yeah. And one of the big things from them, as they said, is it's not only been donations that have come in, monetary.
It's time.
It's the volunteers that have come in. They're able to find truck drivers and volunteers and to be able to find the manpower to keep up with what they're doing. So it's been awesome.
What I love about Farm Rescue, and it's kind of where we are today, is like I think in past generations, you had a lot of people. For causes, you had a lot of people that wanted to help, and the biggest hindrance was having the money to do it. But today, we're all so busy that if you have a need, a cause, and people know about it, there are all kinds of people that want to donate monetarily, but because we're all busy, it's the time part of it.
Yeah.
And that's where what they do is so important because cutting that family a check doesn't help them in a lot of cases because that doesn't help me get my crop out.
Exactly.
And when they can roll in there and not only do what they do, but have the people to do it,
it is pretty incredible.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And man, kudos to you for using your platform that way. Cause like, that's what it's about. I mean, that's got to make you feel good. And that's value. That's giving back to the world. That's powerful, you know?
Yeah.
When you started, did you ever think that like the circle of people that you have met and that you know, and the people that you have built relationships with, like that's just mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, I never saw, when I started my YouTube hobby, I never saw that there'd be any reason to leave the farm for it.
Yeah.
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 You know? And now I'm trying to figure out how I can be on the farm more because I'm gone for the YouTube stuff, you know, stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
This is not directly YouTube, but it's
Right.
because of YouTube that I'm sitting here right now.
Yeah.
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 We always say, I mean, you know, for all of the benefits, and there's a lot of benefits in what we've done, but the people that we've met, that's the greatest benefit to what we've done.
Yeah. I mean, this podcast right now, this is awesome. This is what it's about. Like this has been the best. This is the highlight of my day right here. This is just shooting the shit, having beers in the barn, talking farm to farmer. It's like, it's about the people and like the impact you make. And so, it is pretty awesome to do. Social media comes with a lot of, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
And
it comes with a lot of work, but
it's a lot of work. And then they're, you know, sometimes I'm a little torn in the fact that it's so easy for people to misuse, because it's the buffer.
What do you mean by that?
You said it so good the other day. We were talking about it. You're like, oh, I got a hard decision to make. Nope. I'm going to scroll.
Oh, yeah, for people. Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of got to weigh that out. But I think the good totally outweighs the negative.
I'm
part
just
of it.
saying, creating on social media, it seems like it's sunshine and rainbows all the time. Oh, you just make videos and.
Yes, the greatest, we talk about like graduation party season when we were kind of getting going in this, and you'd go to a graduation party and somebody that you only see once a year at graduation parties would be like, oh, I see that YouTube. Boy, that must be nice. I told my wife the other day I should pick up a camera because it must be pretty easy if you're doing it. And I always go, yep, it's simplest thing in the world.
Go for it.
Go
do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah. Anyway, well, okay. I think we're getting close to the end here, but I wanted to ask you another question. Who do you think has had the biggest impact on your life or just direction on your life? Mentor, it could be your dad, just anybody. Who do you think has the biggest impact and why?
Yeah, without question, it would be my dad.
Yeah.
And he's taught me so much about the ag industry and about life. I mean, there's just no question in that. There's nobody that really comes close. Learned a lot from my grandpa as well. I mean, I really love spending time with him as a kid, and it's just no question on that. It would be Dad, and I think a lot of people's answer would be the same.
Yep, for sure. Okay, you don't have to answer this, but tariffs. Do you want to give your 2 cents on tariffs on here, or not really?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, I've put it everywhere else.
Rip it.
It's been 6 weeks since I've thought about it now, really, because I feel like it's all settled down, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of points to be made on it, but I mean, it just comes down to it was a negotiation tactic, or is a negotiation tactic.
Still is.
That's what it is.
100%.
Let's not act like it's not. Let's not act like the day he said we're putting these tariffs on these countries, like that's the end all be all. He's negotiating, you morons. That's how I felt.
I know.
I mean, are we just going to act like he made this terrible choice and now we've got these horrible tariffs to deal with? It's not over.
No.
He said it was coming.
Yep.
We all knew it was coming.
He campaigned on it.
Yeah, he campaigned on it.
Told everybody that's what he was going to do.
And somebody's got to pull the hard strings and make this happen. I mean, it drives me nuts when and there's very few people who do it, but the people who call me this, you know, the MAGA hat wearing, crazy guy, whatever, right wing, whatever, that drives me nuts because I'm not. Yeah. Yes, I voted for Trump.
Yeah.
But I'm right of center. Yeah. I really didn't like my other options.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
So we're the same way. Call me whatever
we're
you
the
want.
same way. Yeah. We're the same way. We get so much shit about. I mean, if you're not on the far left radical and you're in the middle, you're still not far enough.
Yeah.
You're still not far enough.
Lunatic.
You're crazy. You're a lunatic.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Well, I just want to say this about the tariffs. I think the real win for Trump on that is, and this doesn't get talked about, which I think is why he did what he did. So, and I think a lot of people don't even realize this, but before all this started, the average American tariff on any goods coming to the United States was somewhere around 2% or 2.5%. And then when he came out and Liberation Day, when it was like, it's 45% here and 40% here and da-da-da, and everybody went crazy. And then we started rolling these back, and we've made some agreements, and we're still working on some agreements, but the bottom tier tariff that I've seen for anybody importing in the United States is 10%. And nobody said anything about it. Nobody's acting like that's a big deal at all. If he would have came out and said, all right, we're going to put a 10% tariff on everything, oh shit, people would have lost their freaking minds. But because he went so far,
right,
and then came back, now there's like, 10%'s fine. Well, 10% is, if you go from 10.5 to, or 2.5 to 10, that's a 3X. Is that right? Or how would you figure that?
Sounds about right. We're in.
Yeah. I mean, I think he got what he wanted, and nobody's saying boo about it.
Yeah. Well, what they're saying about it is that it was a failure. Now he's retracting some of these tariffs.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
That was the idea.
Come on. Don't act like you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like you hate him so bad that you just cannot admit to yourself what it was from the beginning, whether you like it or not. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Sawyer learned this from Trump. He did the exact same thing. He told his fiance that he was going to buy a Ferrari, and then he bought a Razor, and she wasn't even mad about it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good, the
Same
art
deal.
of the deal.
That's the art of the deal right there.
There you go.
She would have probably liked me to get a horse, or I think if I would have told her a horse trailer, she would have taken that over a Ferrari all day long. But
You tell her that if you buy a horse trailer, the bank will probably call in her line of credit. Bad investment. Anything with horses, bad investment.
No.
You can put a Razor in a horse trailer, right?
Yeah. Horsepower. That's what I told her.
Don't enable.
No, I did say this to her.
Enabling.
I said, this is just my horsepower.
I like that.
I said, you you got yours, I got mine. I'm just adding more horsepower to the family here.
Yeah. And unleaded is cheaper than hay. Cheaper.
Debatable.
We're going to go with that.
Debatable.
We're going to go
Debatable.
With that.
I wanted to ask, I know you had Off the Husk for a while.
Yeah.
What prompted you? Because you guys were rolling there for a while. What prompted you to stop? Was it just life got crazy? Too busy?
That's 100% it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we were rolling. We were having fun. The numbers on it were unreal for what we were expecting. I mean, it was fantastic. But life. I got 3 kids in hockey. And Randy and I always joked, something about the microphones on a Friday night always gave us a bad headache on Saturday.
Yep. I totally understand that.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that could be. It's the microphones. But when we did our podcast, we would enjoy a few drinks. We had a lot of fun with it. And it just, life. 3 kids in hockey. We've always got hockey games or tournaments on Friday nights and Saturdays. We didn't want to do our podcast on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
We just have too much other stuff going on. That and we did learn too that having a guest on Zoom or whatever computer program you want to use is not the same as having them in person. There is no replacement for having a guest in person.
Yep.
You guys know that.
Yep.
And where we're at in small town West Central Minnesota, we're a long ways from any kind of airport. So it was difficult that way. If we could have kept going without guests, and maybe we could have, that would have helped. But you can only do so many things.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that you're 100% right. I mean, and today it's just, we're all so busy.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I mean, we find ourselves here, we shoot so when it's just us, we'll end up shooting crazy times. I mean, we'll shoot in the morning, we'll shoot at night. I mean, it's
whenever
just
we can
so
fit it
hard.
in.
When it's
Like
just
you
you two.
you would think that it's the one thing in our week that we would just schedule that out. And we try all the time. We're like, all right, we're blocking this out every Thursday. We're going to shoot this time. I can about put on one hand the number of podcasts we've actually shot on the allotted time. I mean, it's just, life is chaos. So
Last thing, how do you feel, since we got a little political, not too political, but how do you just feel about the overall? Because like for me, the overall feel of the country, I feel a little better right now compared to what we had. Do you feel that? Do you feel like your friends feel that? Do you feel? Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
So my buddy and I had this talk after the election, and we both, he's 51 or 2 years old. We both feel like this was the most important election of our lifetimes. And I wasn't sure if that's because I'm 40 years old now or if that really is the case. But I really felt like this was the biggest division I've ever seen and the strongest I've ever felt in one direction, ever. And I just felt like whichever direction this goes, this is going to make a generational difference, is how I felt about it.
do you know how positive I feel? The other day,
Here we go.
the other day I went to the hardware store and they had ammo on sale and I didn't buy any.
You didn't buy
That's
the ammo
how
on sale.
positive I feel about the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Did you buy a lot of really expensive ammo 5 years ago?
Damn right I did.
Me too.
Damn right I did.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I like to just pick people's brain and see where they thought. But yeah, I mean, we said that for.
Yeah.
I mean, we were loud and proud about it. We didn't give a shit. I felt like it was a pivotal time in America to stand up and say what you felt like you had to say. And we're not. I mean, some people would say that we are hardcore MAGA, but we're not. I mean, it's the best of the two options that we had. Let's just put it there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
It comes down to that.
I think at the end of the day,
to me, it's, are you for America and what we stand for, or are you not at this point? Yeah. Are you wanting to keep America free and what it's always been, or are you not? I mean, that's where it's at.
And the longer it goes, when you talked about it was the best choice you could make the two choices we had, I'm just like you. I couldn't in good conscience because I felt like that was the most unqualified choice that I could have made. And it seems like history has kind of proven that out. So I'm very comfortable with.
All I want from our politicians is to put the American people first.
Yeah.
If you're bought and paid for, we can smell that out. And the other candidate, it seemed like she was bought and paid for. And the sitting president that we had at that time obviously wasn't part of the system. And so I think just going forward, what I know my generation wants is we just want real people representing us and putting us first. And that we don't feel like have an agenda that aren't bought and paid for, that can go on a podcast and say it and tell it how it is, and we feel like that's legit.
Can defend their ideas.
Yeah, defend their ideas and isn't part of the system that's fucking broken. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I don't give a shit if that's a Democrat. I don't give a shit if that's Republican.
Right.
That's what I want.
I just want somebody that's going to help your generation make as much money
and
as
I don't
possible.
give a shit if they're black. I don't give a shit if they're a woman. I don't give a shit what
Cut
it is.
me off.
He wanted to get that point out.
Yeah, I did.
He did.
I love to like Tulsi Gabbard. She's awesome.
I know. I like her too.
I'd go for it. I'd love.
You guys just need to make a lot of money because there's a lot of debt to be paid for, and I'm expecting a very good retirement. So
I'll
get
get
after
working
it.
on that. I'll get working on that, and
Yeah.
I'll try to get that third generation on here. And
Do that too because
Onyx will try to race his ass off, and he'll try to farm his ass off, and we'll deliver. I
All
believe
right,
in
that's
him.
good.
I believe in it. He'll wash as many goddamn windows as he has to. We're gonna get there.
You brought up a cool point about you want your politicians to be real people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you listened to Trump on Rogan's podcast.
Yes,
Brilliant.
it
Yeah.
was.
Brilliant. Because
That's
he
all we
can do
want.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Trump can't be a different person.
No.
Yeah.
He can't.
He's going to say stupid shit
Yep.
because he's Trump.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, he can't go on and be a polished politician.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why he is who he is. That's why Harris wouldn't go on there.
Right.
Yep.
That's exactly
And
right.
I'm
That
sure
tells
you've-
it. Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard Rogan talk about, that they offered her to
Yeah.
go on the show and how he says, he was going to be real kind to her. He was going to let her use the platform the same way he let Trump do it.
Yep.
I've listened to enough Rogan for enough time to know he's not filling us full of crap.
No.
Yep.
He would have absolutely given her the same platform he gave to Trump.
Yep.
She would not have come across the same way.
Nope.
No.
And they knew that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why she didn't go on. And
That's what
that
people
told us
want.
everything we needed to know.
It did.
Yeah.
That's it.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you.
Yeah.
The Trump Rogan podcast was great, and it probably was it was a better podcast. However, the Trump Theo Vaughn podcast was my personal favorite.
I didn't hear that one. I
Oh
saw
my
some
gosh.
clips from it.
The line they were talking about drug use, and when Theo Vaughn was talking about like that shit'll make you like climb a street light or something like that. And Trump,
Street lamp or something.
yeah, Trump, to his credit, he stayed composed, but you could tell that he was like, Theo Vaughn was talking a language that he had no idea. Like he had no idea what was going
Well, this
on.
is the guy that claims he's never even tried alcohol, right?
Yeah. Well, that
Right.
was the
And-
conversation that led to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about how he had seen it was his uncle, right?
No, I think it's Trump's brother.
Trump's, yeah. And
Trump's brother had an alcohol problem,
yeah,
right?
Problem.
right.
Yeah.
And that was what made him just not want to do it. And Theo Vaughn was just like, wow, man, that's
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, it was so good.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the hell out of you making the effort to get down here. And I should thank Mitchell. I should thank Mitchell Hora for dragging you down here because I got good neighbors. We got good neighbors here at Jackson
I had no
Township.
idea you were so close to him.
Yep.
Literally until today. I knew, okay, you got to be in that region, but I
Yeah.
didn't know until today.
So if there was a tax credit for pink flamingos, it'd just be a wash. The whole town, it'd just be a wash of pink flamingos because whatever the next thing is, we're on it.
You're
We're
on
it.
top of it.
Solar, cover crops, pink flamingos, hog confinements.
You guys really are.
It'll make your head spin.
I drove 7.5 hours today. And you can tell when you get into this area, you get into this region, that's when you really start seeing the no-till, the cover crops, the grass waterways.
Well, there was $30 an acre to be had for planting cover crops. You know that.
I didn't know that.
FSA would give you $30 an acre to plant cover crops.
Is that through the EQIP program?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, well, $30 on like Donkey Kong. And then, it's like the solar panels were the same way. It's like, I've got a buddy of mine that owns a solar company and he put solar panels on one hog building down by Wayland, Iowa. It's
On
about
the roof?
on the roof, about
Yep.
20 miles away. And he said they were putting them on there. And while they were putting them on there, 5 guys pulled in the driveway and they're like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, we're putting these solar panels on. Well, what's that pay? He's like, oh, there's a tax credit. Da-da-da-da. And they're like, what are you doing after this? He's like, he literally booked 5 other buildings while he was putting them on the first one. Then after that, it just took off because they're like,
On top of it.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure, it's funny how regions, it's like a mindset. I don't know what it is, but as you travel around, you find places, you find communities, and like the culture is just, it's different.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you grow up there, you don't realize that till you leave. And I think that's one of the advantages of, like, when I was selling, you meet so many different people and you go to so many different places that you just see what the pace of life, the culture, the competitive, and there's places that, right or wrong, maybe they're competitive in something else, but for whatever reason, the area that we grew up in right here around Washington County, very competitive. And some people look at that as like, it's very hard to get started. But at the same time, it's one of those things that if you do get started, you're very sharp. Like, it keeps you very sharp. So, and not that I'm sharp, I'm just freeloading off of.
Yeah, you're pretty dull.
I am pretty dull, pretty round, kind of a shape.
Anyway, well, I got all my words out. Did you get all your words out?
I did.
Did you get all your words out, Zach?
I feel good about it.
Okay, I do too. I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I thought we were done, and then you had to get up and take a piss.
Well,
so
dude,
I
was like shaking my leg here. I was like, I'm gonna piss my pants if I don't move. So
when I said
that
last bit, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, I ain't gonna make it. Yeah, I had to get up and go. But no, for real, Zach, this episode has been awesome. We really do appreciate you coming, man. It was a blast. Like I said, highlight of my day. If you guys got any value from the show, share it out with the people that you know. Go follow Zach, Millennial Farmer. See what he's up to on the farm. See what he's doing. Leave a review on Spotify or Apple, and we'll see you back here next week for another episode.